No, I did see him earlier. I think he just went to the restroom. You guys going to be prepared when Mr. Draskowitz gets here?
I'm sorry?
Are you guys ready to go when Mr. Draskowitz comes in?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the plan is I'm going to read the preliminary instructions and then we'll go right into open. You guys have tested out the
Yes.
technology?
Everything seems to work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna take mine. Yep. Did we correct just prior to the witness?
Is everybody here?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, bring in the jury.
All rise for the jury.
We are on the record in C-377239, State of Nevada versus Devyn Michaels. May the record reflect that Ms. Michaels is present with her attorneys, deputy district attorneys, on behalf of the state. Do both parties stipulate to the presence of our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and are you guys ready to begin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this trial, for those of you who are going to be our jurors, I want to let you know what to expect. So we're going to go through some preliminary instructions before we get started. First of all, we'd like you to be as comfortable as possible while you're here. So if you have any trouble hearing or seeing at any time during this trial, please raise your hand as an indication. Also, if you need to use the restroom, if you feel ill, or if you have any other problem, please also raise your hand and let us know. I also encourage you to stand up and stretch between witnesses or when the attorneys are discussing something at the bench with me. You can also feel free to bring in water or anything or a drink as long as it doesn't cause any disruption in the proceedings. During this trial, we will generally meet between 9 o'clock and end around 5. Occasionally, we may break shortly after 5 if there's a witness testifying at that time or a witness who needs to be called out of order, but we will not stay past 6. Also, during the day, we will generally break for lunch between 11:45 and 1 o'clock, depending on what time we started, and we will break for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then we'll have a break in the afternoon for about 15 minutes. This is a criminal case commenced by the state of Nevada, which I may sometimes refer to as the state, against Devyn Michaels. This case is based on the second amended indictment. The clerk will now read the second amended indictment to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and state the plea of the defendant to that second amended indictment.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, the State of Nevada plaintiff versus Devyn Jade Michaels, aka Nikki Fairchild, aka Tracy Baker, aka Tracy Nicole Tavares, defendant, case number C-23377-239-1, Department 10, third amended indictment, State of Nevada, County of Clark, the defendant above named, Devyn Jade Michaels, aka Nikki Fairchild, aka Tracy Baker, aka Tracy Nicole Tavares, accused by the Clark County Grand Jury of the crime of murder with use of a deadly weapon. committed at or within the County of Clark, State of Nevada, on or about the 7th day of August 2023 as follows. Did willfully, unlawfully, feloniously, and with malice aforethought kill Jonathan Willett, a human being, with use of a deadly weapon, to wit, a wooden stick and/or other unknown object, by striking the said Jonathan Willett with said wooden stick and/or other unknown object, and/or through other unknown means, the said killing having been 1, willful, deliberate, and premeditated, and/or 2, committed during the perpetration or attempted perpetration of a robbery. Dated this 28th day of October 2025, Stephen B. Wolfson, Clark County District Attorney, by John Giordani, Chief Deputy District Attorney, to which the defendant has pled not guilty to.
Ladies and gentlemen, please understand that the second amended indictment is simply a charge and that it is not in any sense evidence of the allegations it contains. The defendant has pled not guilty to the second amended indictment. The state therefore has the burden of proving each of the essential elements of the second amended indictment beyond a reasonable doubt. As the defendant sits there now, she's not guilty. The purpose of this trial is to determine whether the state will meet that burden. It is your primary responsibility as jurors to find and determine the facts. Under our system of criminal procedure, you are the sole judge of the facts. You are here to determine the facts from the testimony you hear and other evidence, including exhibits introduced in court. It is up to you to determine the inferences which you feel may be properly drawn from the evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, you must base your verdict solely on the evidence presented in the courtroom and the instructions from the law that I give to you. To protect the integrity of the jury process, it is very important that you do not do any independent research about this case until the jury has reached a verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of media coverage in regards to this case, but it's very important that you do not watch any media coverage of this case, or you do not do any additional media searches on your own about this case. You may not visit any location involved in this case. You must not do any research or look up words, names, maps, or anything else that may have anything to do with this case. This includes any reading of newspapers, watching television, or using a computer, cell phone, the internet, or any other means to get information related to the case or the people and places involved in the case. This applies whether you're in the courthouse, at home, or anywhere else. Additionally, until you are discharged from your service as a juror, you must not provide or receive any information about your jury service to anyone, including your friends, coworkers, and family members. You may tell people you've been picked for a jury and how long the case will take. However, you must not give any information about the case itself or the people involved in the case. You must also warn people not to try to say anything to you or write to you about your jury service, or write to you about this case. This includes face-to-face, phone, or computer communications. In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress that you must not use electronic devices or computers to research or talk about this case. This includes Googling, tweeting, texting, blogging, emailing, posting information on a website, or any other means at all. All of us are depending on you to follow these rules so that there will be a fair and lawful resolution to this case. You may not declare to your fellow jurors any facts relating to this case of your own knowledge. And if you discover during the trial or after the jury has retired that you or any other juror has personal knowledge of any witness or fact in controversy in this case, you must disclose that information to me outside the presence of the other jurors. The evidence in this case will consist of sworn testimony of witnesses, all exhibits received in evidence, regardless of which side introduces the evidence. If the attorneys on both sides stipulate to the existence of a fact, you must, unless otherwise instructed, accept the stipulation as evidence and regard that fact as proven. I may take judicial notice of certain facts or events. If I take judicial notice of a fact or event, you must accept that fact as true. In every case, there are two types of evidence, direct and circumstantial. Direct evidence is testimony by a witness about what the person saw or heard or did. Circumstantial evidence is testimony or exhibits which are proof of a particular fact, from which if that fact is proven, you can infer the existence of a second fact. For example, if you're outside and you see and feel raindrops falling on you, that's direct evidence that it's raining because you can feel and see the raindrops fall on you. But if you go to sleep at night and the ground is dry, but when you wake up in the morning the ground is all wet and there are puddles outside, that is circumstantial evidence that it rained while you were asleep. Although you didn't see it raining, you know the ground was dry when you went to sleep, and now it is wet, and that is circumstantial evidence that it rained last night. You may consider both direct and circumstantial evidence in deciding this case. The law permits you to give equal weight to both types of evidence, but it's up to you to decide how much weight to give to a particular piece of evidence. The parties may sometimes make objections to some of the testimony or other evidence. It is the duty of a lawyer to object to the evidence which he or she believes may not properly be offered, and you should not be prejudiced in any way against a lawyer who makes objections on behalf of the party he or she represents. At times, I may sustain objections or direct that you disregard certain testimony or exhibits. You must not consider any evidence to which an objection has been sustained or which I've instructed you to disregard. You also must not consider anything which you may have seen or heard when court is not in session, even if what you see or hear is said or done by one of the parties or by one of the witnesses. In considering the weight and value of the testimony of any witness, you may take into consideration the appearance, attitude, and behavior of the witness, the interest of the witness in the outcome of the case, if any, the relation of the witness to the defendant or the state, the inclination of the witness to speak truthfully or not, and the probability or improbability of the witness's statements and all of the facts and circumstances and evidence. Thus, you may give the testimony of any witness just such weight and value as you believe the testimony of the witness is entitled to receive. After these instructions, we'll have an opening statement by the state, maybe an opening statement by the defense, the state's evidence, the defense's evidence, if they desire to present any evidence, jury instructions, and closing arguments. Opening statements and closing arguments are intended to help you in understanding the evidence and applying the law, but please understand that what the attorneys tell you is not evidence. At the conclusion of the evidence, I will instruct you on the law. You must not be concerned with the wisdom of any rule of law stated in these instructions or the instructions that I will read to you after the evidence is in. Regardless of any opinion you may have as to what the law ought to be, it would be a violation of your oath to base a verdict upon any other view of the law than that given to you by the court. Until the case is submitted to you, you must not discuss it with anyone, not even with your fellow jurors. After it is submitted to you, you must discuss it only in the jury room with your fellow jurors. It is important that you keep an open mind and not decide any issue in the case until the entire case has been submitted to you under instructions from me. Again, if you discover during the course of the trial that you have personal knowledge of the facts of the case, or that you know one of the witnesses, please give a note to the marshal who will present it to me. During this trial, it may be necessary for me to confer with the lawyers at the bench about questions of law or procedure that I need to make a decision on. Sometimes you may be excused from the courtroom for the same reason. I will try to limit these interruptions as much as possible. Please understand if we take a break, it is necessary, and we appreciate your patience. You will be given a badge to wear during your jury service. Please wear the badge at all times while you're in the courthouse or on a break. This badge lets everyone know that you're a juror in this case. This is important because during the course of this trial, the attorneys from both sides and court personnel, other than the marshal, are not permitted to talk to members of the jury. By this, I mean not only can they not talk to you about the case, they can't talk to you at all, not even to ask you what time it is. This badge helps them identify you as a juror. If someone will not talk to you, please understand that they are not being rude. To ensure the absolute impartiality of the jury, the people involved in the case are bound by ethics and law to avoid contact with jurors until the case is decided. You've also been given papers and pens for your use. You are free to take notes during the trial if you wish, but please keep the notes to yourself until you and your fellow jurors go to the jury room to decide the case. Do not let note-taking distract you. You should also rely on your own memory of what was said and not be overly influenced by the notes of other jurors. If jurors have conflicting notes, you should not rely on the notes because the court recorder's record contains a complete and authentic record of this trial. I will also type my own notes during trial. Please do not take this into consideration. If I begin to type during a witness's testimony, you are not to consider that testimony any more important than any other testimony. In fact, you're not to consider anything I say or do during this trial to suggest that I'm inclined to favor the claims or position of either party. I'm required to remain neutral. It would be wrong for you to conclude that anything I say or do means I'm for one side or another in this trial. Discussing and deciding the facts is your job and your job alone. Jurors are allowed to ask questions. The procedures require that you write your juror number and question on a full sheet of paper and give it to the marshal while the witness is still in the courtroom. Questions must be factual in nature and designed to clarify information already presented. If it's a proper question under the court rules, I'll ask you. If the evidence rules prevent me from asking the question, then I won't ask the question. If I don't ask the question, I'll keep the question and explain after trial the purpose of the rule that precluded me from asking it. Please reserve your questions until the attorneys have finished asking questions of the witness, as the attorneys will likely ask your question. Jurors must not place undue weight on the responses to their questions or draw any conclusion because the questions was not asked. There may be some testimony in this case that will be given through an interpreter. An interpreter will provide a translation for you at the time the testimony is given. You must rely on the translation provided by the interpreter, even if you understand the language that's spoken by the witness. Do not retranslate any testimony for other jurors. If you believe the court interpreter translated testimony incorrectly, let me know immediately by writing a note and giving it to the marshal prior to the witness being excused from the courtroom. Finally, in fairness to the parties to this case, you should keep an open mind throughout this trial, reaching your conclusion only during your final deliberations after all the evidence is in and you've heard the attorney's closing arguments and my instructions to you on the law. Now that I've given my preliminary instructions, the clerk will now administer the oath to the members of the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise and raise your right hand so that the clerk can administer the oath?
You and each of you do solemnly swear that you will well and truly try the case at issue and a true verdict render according to the evidence, so help you God. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you all. State, are you prepared to give an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Prior to that, can counsel approach?
On August 7th of 2023, the defendant, Devyn Michaels, brutally murdered and savaged the body of her ex, Jonathan Willett. But the story did not begin on August 7th of 2023, and all I can say is buckle up because you're in for a wild ride. This is Jonathan in life. It's Jonathan's 2 young children that he shared with the defendant. Both girls, faces blocked out, they're preteen young children. You will learn during the course of this trial that John had a son from a prior relationship named Devyn. That after Devyn was born, he split with Devyn's mother, eventually getting into a relationship with the defendant. They then had these 2 children together. They separated. And there was a custody agreement that was ordered by the family court in which the victim had full physical custody of the girls. You will learn that the defendant was not happy about that situation, that the defendant wanted to have control of her girls, and she wanted to start a new life with Devyn, the same Devyn that is John's son. On August 7th of 2023, Yoko Willett, an elderly woman, woke up to find her dead son in his room with what she referred to as his face and neck missing. This is the 911 call she plays.
Yes, this is Yoko Willett. My number is, address is 2698 Aradura Drive, Henderson, Nevada. Yeah, 702-203-8975.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, I went downstairs and my son is on the bed and all bloody. I open the cover. It's all bloody. I don't know. Can you come over?
Yeah, we're coming help you. What happened to him, you know?
I have no idea. And those were the outside this morning.
Is he awake now?
And
Is he awake?
I think he's dead.
Listen to me, I already have a call in for help, okay? How old is your son?
About 46 seconds.
Is he breathing?
Oh, bloody all over. Huh?
Where's he bleeding from, him?
I don't know, from the egg or something.
Do you see any weapons around him?
No.
Nothing. Would he have harmed himself? Can you tell?
What?
Did he look like he hurt himself at all? Like, maybe
I
shot
have
himself?
no idea. Those was on the yard. I told him, I didn't know he's trying to move out from my house.
Okay.
And his girlfriend was here yesterday.
Okay. When's the last time you saw him? Yeah, when's the last time you saw him? Okay, how long ago?
Last night.
Last night?
Yeah. I think somebody has come to eat.
Okay, yeah, we're already on the way, okay? We're going to try and help him before we get there. Do you have a defibrillator available inside your house?
Huh?
Do you have the defibrillator available at your house, the shocking machine?
I don't.
That's okay. Now, what I want you to do is, do you feel safe to get right next to him so we can try to just...
That is what police found when they arrived at the Willett residence. Jonathan on his bed in his bedroom. As you can see, his head is missing. Large blood stain at the foot of the bed there, and a large amount of blood underneath where his head should be. Officers eventually removed the cover from his body and noted several chemical burns, or what appeared to be strange chemical burns on his body. And a very clean decapitation that you can see there. Henderson Police Department was responsible for the investigation. After first responders arrived on scene, clearly couldn't render any medical aid to the victim, they locked down the scene. Homicide investigators are then enlisted and take over. Along with the homicide investigators, they bring out an army of crime scene analysts and treat this case obviously very seriously, and they go into the home after executing a search warrant. When they go into the home, they obviously focus on the bedroom, but they do a pretty thorough search of the entire residence, the curtilage, the backyard, the front, the trash cans, the upstairs bedrooms, the kitchen, the living room, and these are the items that they find. A couple of chemical bottles, obviously relevant for the potential chemical burns on the victim's body. They find some interesting writings that you'll see a little bit more of later, demonstrating that there was a contentious custody case going on between the victim and someone at that point, someone. They see out front John's moving truck, the victim's moving truck. You will learn that he had a moving business. There's a trailer on the back. It's parked a little cattywampus, going the wrong way on the street and poking out into the street, as though he may have planned on moving after he last parked that car or truck. But the items that weren't found are what was particularly notable for the investigators. They didn't find a murder weapon. They didn't find whatever this person used to cut his head off. They did not find his head. They did not find his wallet. They did not find his truck keys, and they did not find his phone. They interviewed Yoko, and the gentleman above Yoko's photo is Yoshida, her partner. According to Yoko and Yoshida, the defendant, who they referred to as Nikki and knew as Nikki, ultimately identified as Devyn Michaels, was the last person to see Jonathan alive. Nikki and John had been moving the girls' and John's items from this Paladura address to Nikki's address on Porcupine Rim that she shared with Devier, and for a temporary period over the summer, the young girls. They learned that Nikki and John returned to this address, the Paladura address, for the last time at 10 p.m. on August 6th, or around 10 p.m. They learned from Yoko that about 1 a.m. she was going downstairs for a glass of water and ran into the defendant, who she will describe to you when you hear from her as she appeared to be startled to see me. The defendant and Yoko have a conversation. It's relatively brief. Yoko's in the kitchen cleaning up some dishes. The defendant has now entered the kitchen, and they begin to talk when the defendant tells Yoko, John's asleep. Don't go in there. Those aren't her words. You'll hear this through the course of the trial. She says, John's asleep. He's passed out. We have plans for him to move some more stuff in the morning. Kind of don't bother him kind of thing. Yoko then noticed that the lights were on in John's room, but decided, hey, if he's asleep, I'm not going to go in there. She returns back upstairs. Yoko went to sleep, leaving Nikki, or the defendant, alone in the home. You will learn very clearly that there were only 4 people in the home at the time of this incident: the victim, the defendant, Yoko, and Yoshida. Yoko also will tell you that around 8 a.m. she found John without a face. You probably heard from the 911 call, there's a bit of a language barrier. She'll do her best to describe what she initially saw and the shock, obviously, that ensued. So the defendant is the last person to see him, so investigators are very curious to speak with her. Homicide detectives summon her to the scene. They get a hold of her via a phone number given by a neighbor. She answers that phone. It's her phone. She agrees to come to the scene, leaving Devyn and the girls are with the defendant as well. She, in her initial interview, says John is her ex. They share the 2 children together, that they spent the whole day together on August 6th, moving, shopping for the girls' school supplies, etc. Everything's normal from her perspective. That evening, they were moving the girls' things into her home on Porcupine, and she was, in fact, at the Paladura residence last night doing that. She would go on to describe it's a normal night, there's nothing out of sorts, and that John was alive and well in the garage when she left. Remember that. Further investigation, of course, occurs. Homicide detectives are treating this very seriously. You will learn from many of them that when a homicide such as this comes in, they divide duties. There's too much for one person to do, and so although there is a lead detective who goes by the name of Dennis Ozawa, Detective Ozawa was not in any way the only person investigating this case. He had an entire team, and you will hear from many of those people. You will learn that one big thing in the modern days of investigation is videos, video cameras. They're everywhere in our valley, so they canvass all around. The Paladura residence is kind of right in the middle of all those yellow markers. They canvassed all these different addresses for anything who saw, heard anything, and anyone who had a camera. Some of those were fruitful, some of them were not. They knocked on the doors where video cameras were visibly present. They even knocked on doors where they weren't present in the hopes that maybe someone saw or heard something. And they gathered a lot of footage. We're going to do our best during the course of this trial to streamline it for you. There's hundreds of hours of footage, and we're going to present it in the best way we can. They also learned that there is a neighbor directly to the left of the homicide scene who had a motion-activated Ring camera, which will become important later in the trial. There also was an autopsy, of course. The Henderson Detective Ozawa attended that autopsy. You will hear from the medical examiner in this case, Dr. Stephanie Yagi with the Clark County Coroner's Office, who enlisted the assistance of a forensic anthropologist, Dr. Burns, who works out of UNLV. You will learn that Dr. Yagi surmised that the cause of death was homicidal violence and the manner of death was homicide. You will learn that she noted the non-thermal chemical burns on the body, which did not contribute to his death, but were notable for investigative purposes. Something important I want you to keep in the back of your mind is there were no bleeding injuries anywhere else on the body, so everything was focused neck and above. You will learn that the decapitation occurred post-mortem. There are histological reactions that the body has if this type of thing happens while you're still alive and your body is trying to actively repair itself. None of those were present during the course of the autopsy, and so the doctor will testify that this was a post-mortem decapitation. As I mentioned, she enlisted the assistance of a forensic anthropologist, Dr. Burns. You will hear from her as well. She will talk about the science behind what she does, and in this particular case, she was enlisted for the main purpose of determining what was used to cut off Mr. Willette's head. She will tell you that she did microscopic examination. During the course of that thorough examination, she determined very clearly that there were 2 separate instruments used to chop off his head. She even can narrow it down by time because of the layering of the artifacts on the bones. And so she will surmise and testify that first, a serrated or non-serrated knife was used. So a knife, whether serrated or not. When that was unsuccessful, the defendant then used a powered saw of some sort. She can't narrow it down to class. You will learn, or class of tool. You will learn that the bones in the neck, the cervical spine, are very small, There are areas on it which would reflect these markings, but they are so small that she can't really surmise what type of saw. She'll testify that if it's a long bone, she has seen cases with dismemberment, involving dismemberment, but not a decapitation. But with dismemberment of larger bones, you can see more, which allows you to narrow down the type of saw that was used, but here that's not possible. Nonetheless, she will testify clearly that it was two different instruments, knife first, saw second. Further investigation also revealed what Mr. Draskevich alluded to in jury selection, a very non-traditional family situation. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. The investigation revealed that the defendant, after splitting with John, ultimately married his son, Devyn. Devyn moves in with her. They are together for an extended period of time. The defendant loses custody of the girls, and eventually the girls end up for a short period of time over the summer of 2023 before school starts, living in the home with the defendant and Devyn, with Jonathan living back at the Paladura residence with his mom and Yoshida. This is Clark County Department of Family Services document showing the parent placement verification letter describing that John was awarded full physical custody of the girls on October 27th of 2022. That Jonathan, as I said, and the girls were living at 2698 Paladura at the time. You can see in the document that the defendant had weekly supervised visitation with the girls for an extended period of time. And you will learn through various witnesses that John kind of bent the rules with that and allowed her to see the girls a little bit more than was court ordered. You will also learn that John allowed the girls to stay with the defendant and Devyn, as I mentioned, at the Porcupine Rim address over the summer of 2023, and that Jonathan was going to move in with the defendant and the girls to try to stabilize their lives and basically try to get everyone under the same roof. The girls were having a real hard time with the custody situation, and you know, his main focus was the girls. Obviously, with all this information they have gathered, the defendant is now a person of interest. She's the last person to see John. She's been over there very close in time to his murder. There's all these ties. There's the custody paperwork I showed you earlier, the writings that were in his room. And so they respond to Porcupine Rim. I can't remember if I put a map in here, but I'll just tell you we'll have a Google map for you that shows the distance between the homes. They're about 30 minutes apart. Paladura is in Henderson. Porcupine Rim is in Las Vegas, and it's a pretty good distance, about 30 minutes. The detectives will tell you, and this is Detective Ozawa and Detective Carrie Skinner, that when they go to the residence, they observe the defendant. She's kind of either moving stuff or moving back and forth between the home and the vehicle, and they note a couple of things before they approach and make contact with her. You see the Nissan Armada, which is the defendant's vehicle, looks pretty clean and shiny. You will see that cell phone on the right. The detectives observed that when they first drove up, kind of sitting in the rocks near the driveway. Thought, okay, that's weird, but we're not going to touch it. We're not executing a search warrant yet. They leave it be, and then they make contact with the defendant to interview her again, because now they know some more things, and things aren't quite adding up, and they want to know a little bit more. They make contact with the defendant, and this is prior to them going into the home and executing a search warrant on the home. They get a little more information, but the story generally remains the same, that John recently dated Andrea. This is extra information. But that last night he threw away his engagement ring in the trash can at Paladura, which, remember that. That John wanted to get back together with her romantically. This is new information. And move in, which we already know to provide stability for the girls. She mentioned that Yoko does not know Devyn and I are married. She claimed that her marriage with Devyn was one of convenience for insurance purposes and non-romantic and not sexual in nature. You will learn, and you'll actually hear it, the interview. During this interview, out in the police vehicle in front of Porcupine Rim, the girls walk up, and you can hear them. They're sweet little voices, and they're like, "This is Daddy's phone. This is Daddy's phone. This is why he wasn't answering." The detectives realize that's kind of important. They take the phone from the girls, or the girls give it to them, and the detectives note blood on the phone. Something important. They ask the defendant, "Well, how did this get here?" And she responded generally that he must have left it here earlier in the day when he was moving, and I don't know. I mean, there's a cigarette butt over there. I know he smoked cigarettes. It's by where the phone was. He probably left it. And the detectives are a little suspicious of that. They ask her a few more questions. Again, you're going to hear this stuff in the audio recording, so I've summarized it. And then ultimately at the end, she again sticks with this: John was alive and well in the garage when I left. As I mentioned, the detectives then obtain a search warrant and execute that search warrant on the home. They also get the warrant for the vehicles. You'll learn that white moving van is Devier's work van. He was a home security installer. He did various jobs for a legitimate company. They searched that vehicle. Nothing of evidentiary value found in that vehicle. You can also barely see behind the van. There's a small sedan that's inoperable, but they search it nonetheless. They find nothing of evidentiary value. When it comes to the defendant's Nissan Armada, they photograph it on the outside, but then they apply seals to every opening, and then they tow that to have it searched later at their lab. You will learn they find in the garage the Ring cameras from John's home. A little weird. They grab them up. They seize them pursuant to the search warrant in the hopes that maybe, since these are the cameras from John's home, it captured something. There is no footage, unfortunately, associated with it. They issued administrative subpoenas and attempted to obtain footage from Ring. There was no footage because he didn't have the right account to store the Ring footage in the cloud. And I'm butchering the technical terms, I'm sure, but you'll hear all of this from witnesses. They also noted that there was no SD card in the cameras themselves, but nonetheless, they took them, they seized them pursuant to the search warrant, just to make sure. You will also learn they find several of defendants' writings throughout the home describing kind of the relationship with Devier, not exactly how the defendant described it to them to begin with. Very importantly, they find the defendant's purse. Inside her purse, they find the victim's social security card, along with one of her work cards. This is the defendant's bedroom. What I've circled there is basically her underwear drawer. When you execute a search warrant, you go through everything. You basically toss the place, and when they were searching the defendant's underwear drawer, they found something. My mouse is freezing on me here. Very important. They find several layers of knotted plastic bags, and inside they find the victim's wallet, current identification, and his only set of truck keys. After the search warrant, they speak with the defendant again. They learn that the defendant's version regarding the phone is that she has no idea how it ended up there. They confront her with the blood on the screen. She initially says, "Oh, I don't know," and then she says, "He cut himself moving." Remember when I talked about the autopsy earlier, no other bleeding injuries on the victim's body? Remember that? She claims he cut himself while he was moving. There's no evidence to suggest that. They learned John wanted to move in with the defendant so we could have the girls under one roof and parent them. They further learn, although they already kind of know this, that John has physical custody of the girls, and the defendant claims she plays nice with him to kind of keep access to the girls and keep things kosher. They also learn, which is very important, that John was moving in quicker than she expected. They learn not only from the defendant but other witnesses that this idea of them reuniting for the children had been discussed for several months, but that on this night, on August 6th, John began loading stuff into the truck when the defendant is loading up the girls' stuff into the truck. And she kind of realizes for the first time he was serious about this and this is going to happen. And you'll learn that that's when the walls start closing in on the defendant and she makes the decision she made. The detectives confront her with the fact that there is no notifications on the phone when the girls provide it. It's black, they open it, and there are no notifications on the screen. But that she had contacted him several times the night before, and that those notifications should be there based on the timing of the phone arriving at her house. They ask her, before telling her what they have found in the home, they ask her, hey, do you have any idea where John's wallet would be? She says very unequivocally, no idea. They then say, well, hey, we kind of found this ID and this wallet in your bedroom. And she then changes her story and she provides a version, again, you will hear this audio recording, in which she says it was back at the Paladura residence. She held the plastic bags open and John placed his items into the bag and she tied them up right in front of him. And they confront her when the story doesn't make sense over and over, and that's kind of the story she sticks with regard to that. You will learn there was an extensive follow-up investigation after that interview. Although things weren't adding up, although things looked very strange, the detectives did not rush to judgment and arrest her right there. Although all of the victim's property is inside her home, his blood is at her scene, they don't arrest her right there. They choose to do follow-up investigation. You will learn there was fingerprint analysis that was done. Nothing really of evidentiary value comes of that. You will learn that DNA processing was done, that the victim's blood was in fact on the phone at her house, and that the defendant's DNA was on the knot of those plastic bags where his property was found inside. You will also learn that an extensive digital investigation was done, and that was in the form of video surveillance, digital forensics, meaning phone dumps. They take the actual devices found. There's 11 found inside her home, including the victims. They plug it into a machine. They'll talk about the technology. They're able to extract the data from the phone, and they find several things of note. They also do a call detail record investigation. That is the records that your cell phone maintain or are maintained on your cell phone, everybody's cell phone, with the company you use for service. And those records not only show incoming and outgoing messages and calls, but they also show location data, because every time you place a call or receive one, you are pinging on some kind of tower and leaving a trail of where you've been. Not a precise trail, but a general trail of where you've been. They also pull Burla. Burla is a lot more precise than the cell phone towers. That is an infotainment system inside the Nissan Armada. And they're able to extract that data, and I'll show you that in a moment. They very clearly get a timeline based upon the Burla. The defendant's vehicle is at the victim's home by 10 o'clock at night. The vehicle activates but does not move at about 11 o'clock at night. The vehicle leaves the home for good at 2:04 a.m. 2:04 a.m. on August 7th. And you'll see that in a moment. I've noted here that the video surveillance, DFL, and CDR rule out Devier. Obviously, he was interviewed. You will hear from him during the course of this trial, but they treat him as a suspect. Obviously, there's some fishy circumstances. They're not just pinning this on the defendant because what she's saying doesn't make sense. They're looking into both the defendant and Devier and others. The video surveillance that I'm referring to is kind of wide-ranging. There is one particular camera you're going to learn about that was near the Porcupine Rim residence, the defendant's home. That is a full-time camera. It's not a motion-activated camera. That allows them to see the home, see what vehicles left, came and went at any given time, and they clearly rule out Devier from that video. In addition, I mentioned earlier, there's video surveillance from next door to the victim's home that captures the defendant at around 11 a.m. going to her vehicle, moving it slightly, and then ultimately leaving. Gotta love technology. Here are a couple of additional clips from video surveillance. The one on the left is the defendant with the victim the night before when they're doing the moving. It shows us that they are together, that no third party is present, it's just them. They go into a store, they buy an item, and they leave. And then 2:28 a.m., the defendant is alone. It kind of clipped off on this particular picture, but the defendant is alone in her vehicle after she leaves the residence and goes back to her home, ultimately landing there about 2:46 a.m. Those digital forensic examinations I mentioned become relevant, especially when it comes to Devier. There's much more than this, but I'm trying to narrow it down for the opening statement. This particular message was sent from Devier to the defendant. As you can see, at 10:36 p.m. See you when you get back. I'm going to sleep. Girls are in the living room. And the video surveillance supports that. This image you're seeing now is the CDR cell tower location data. There is much more to it when the witness testifies. There's a bunch of animated videos you're going to see. Just for this purpose, I did a screenshot. The blue and red represent the victim and the defendant's phone, and the green represents Devier's phone at our operative time period, showing him across town when that last message was sent and throughout the evening. You'll also see the burla that I referenced earlier. As I mentioned, burla leaves actual GPS breadcrumbs, like by the foot. So as opposed to just a tower you're hitting on, this is actually showing the track. And you're going to see very clearly when the defendant came and went from the victim's residence on the night of August 6th, as well as when she left on August 7th. After all of this information is gathered, it's very clear that the defendant did this to the detectives. They make the decision to place her under arrest for murder with use of a deadly weapon. After she is arrested, she is interviewed again. This time they try with two different detectives. Obviously, the statements she gave earlier were inconsistent, and so they send in a couple of other detectives, and you'll hear from that detective as well. In this particular interview, the defendant acknowledged that she realized John was actually moving in, that at the time of the murder, she was giving John a massage on the bed. While he was lying on his stomach, the defendant got up, walked over to the fireplace, and grabbed a large, what she referred to as a stick or maybe a candle holder. It's a large, heavy object. John was lying on his stomach, not a threat, in the midst of a massage, face down, unexpected, and the defendant admits that she returned to the bed, bashed him over the head with that club or stick, and that John went limp at that time. You will learn that the defendant refused to acknowledge what she did next. You can make your determination as to why someone might do that as this trial goes on. But she refused to tell detectives what she did with John's head or with the weapon, that those items were never recovered. And so you need to put together the pieces, as the judge just described with the rain example. You will learn that this is the reality of the situation before John was killed, and that the defendant wanted John out of the picture. This is the future that she saw, that she wanted, and the only way to have that future was with John out of the picture. Thank you for your time and attention this week. We truly do appreciate it.
Is the defense going to give an opening statement?
Yes, we are, Your Honor, and if we could have perhaps a 5-minute
Yeah.
recess. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief recess so we can get the technology set up for the defense's opening statement. During this recess, you must not discuss or communicate with anyone, including fellow jurors, in any way regarding this case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. You must not read, watch, or listen to any news or media.
Is unhappy in its own way. Her Honor asked whether we were going to give an opening statement. An opening statement, as Mr. Giordani had laid out, is a time for each side to stand before you and tell you what the facts are. It's our chance to give you a roadmap and explain to you what we feel the facts and ultimately the truth are. Oftentimes, defense attorneys sit back and wait. Don't want to show anything. Let's see what they've got. This case, we're not doing that. We're going to get right out in front of this case and we're going to tell you what's really going on and what the state and what their investigation is missing. Initially, Mr. Giordani had said, well, buckle up, and I'm telling you, buckle up. You know, oftentimes in the intricacies and the complications of human relations, things get unsavory. Things are immoral. I'm going to be showing you things right now, not in a sense to offend you, to cast blame necessarily on the decedent in this case, but to give you a true picture of what was really going on with this unhappy family. Outward actions and outward statements are clues to motive. And we're going to ask you that through the course of this trial, you keep the idea of motive in mind. Motive authors actions. After the state had learned, the police had learned concerning the death of Jonathan Willett, they began to conduct a series of interviews. And what's telling the course of these interviews is what's discussed, what outward statements are made, and how those are clues to motivations. DeVries interviewed the day of August 7th, 2023. And at the beginning of his interview, he admits that he's been drinking. He claims that upon hearing of his father's death, he'd got his drink on. But what's telling through the course of what he says and what he doesn't say, he's asked. And again, at first, and you can't blame the detectives, they're trying to do the best they can with a fairly complex situation. They're trying to get a root, a feeling of the root of the relationships between the parties. I mean, you've got Jonathan Willett, who's dead. You've got Devier, the son that's living with the defendant now in this case, Devyn Michaels, and they're trying to grasp what's really going on. What's going on behind closed doors. They struggle in each of the interviews, both with Devier and with Devyn, to get a feeling of what's going on. Like, what are the relationships? And they're misled time and time again by all parties. In this interview, the first of which that Devier has, they're trying to get a handle on this idea of this marriage and the relationship. And they ask him, but you're saying that you guys are married more out of convenience, not like you guys actually love each other. His response, yeah, we don't. It's not like that. It's out of convenience. But you guys sleep in the same room? His response, no. He's asked here, they're at the home. His response, no. Are you guys intimate at all? His response, no. Devier is being asked questions, who, by the way, you will learn he hated. And he's lying about the relationship that he has with his wife. There was some discussion concerning phones, and I'll tell you any more in this modern society. These are the key of most investigations. In fact, the statement said that's why Devier was ruled out. The location data on the phone didn't track that night to the Paladera residence. That's easily solved. It's easily explained. It was left home. That's it. There are other cases that have been of some notoriety that happens. People know now. They track you on your phones. You're going to learn that Devier knew this and the importance and the significance of this clue to this hidden secret. This was no marriage of convenience. We have out here the wedding ring that you'll see in photos that both Devier and Devyn wore. In fact, Detective Skinner, again trying to grasp this, and this is on August 7th, is asking Devyn about the rings. And he's telling you the rings. You guys are saying this is convenience, but rings are like of significance. It shows a commitment. She plays it down, as does Devier. This marriage of convenience is belied by the facts. You have to ask yourself, as these facts unfold, why is Devier covering for Devier? And why is Devyn covering for Devier? This is no sexless union. And this isn't to shock, but this gives the nature of what's really going on and why that statement was so untrue. I mean, these are pictures taken from their respective phones, and you can see the timestamps. And this will be admitted to you, and you will be able to consider this in reaching the appropriate verdict in this case. This participant, this is a voicemail, 4/27/23 in this sexless, non-intimate marriage.
Will you make love to me tonight? I just want to throw you better. I just want to throw kisses and touching me, kissing my body, and kissing yours. I just want some passion tonight, please.
These are photos recovered from her phone that were taken from her phone, 5/17/23. And again, they're sexual in nature. This isn't to offend. However, what detectives didn't learn is that this relationship wasn't something that was being frustrated by Jonathan moving in. This relationship had gone on for years before. See the picture of Devier, 125, it was modified, access 1227. It goes back 7 years. Driver's license, this is Devier, and if you look and take notice, I mean, this is some years before, he's 6'4". He's 185 pounds. He's a big guy, like his dad. His dad, 6'4", 205 pounds. We had spoken yesterday. Devyn Michaels was in the porn industry. You know, she's not on trial for morality, she's on trial for murder. She had AKAs given her line of work. Devier was into that. He knew that, he appreciated that, he pursued that. And this illicit relationship began before the relationship had ended with his father. It was done behind his back. Text between Devier and Devyn. See, notice the photo, it's that same photo I showed you, 19-year-old, he's now 20. Girl, you had me mesmerized last night. You don't have to change a thing. Like that night was hands down the most sensational feeling I've ever felt since I lost my virginity. These are expressions of a passionate 20-year-old young man who's in love with a porn star. See the dates? Modified 93-16. That means it was looked at 7/18/26. We've got Devier's 20 here. And I'm going to show you photos to show the identification of what's going on. You've got a penis shot taken from her phone. And you see up in the corner, it's Devier. So it's the case, the facts will show and common sense will dictate that this isn't a case about her wanting to be with Devier. And she kills Jonathan. She's been with Jonathan. What happened on August 7th of 2023 is Devier was getting kicked out. He was no longer going to be a part of this relationship because the dad he hated, was coming in and not only taking his home, but taking his wife. Again, 2016, and this shows the length. This isn't everything, but we're trying to just present this to you now so you have an idea. You can appreciate the motivations. Tracy, you put the biggest smile on my face. You haven't seen it already. You are the first thing on my mind in the morning, but I can't kiss you in the morning Saturday. But boy, when my lips touch yours, it feels like time stops. For you, my heart races 1,000 miles and never skips a beat. When I have you in my arms, you may as well start a fire in my chest, because you know when it can make me feel like a melting stick of butter, like you at your best. Just wanted to say you truly outdid the rest. 7 years before. Don't worry, at one point I'll be laying next to you, playing with your hair, scratching your back, and whispering something romantic in your ear. Again, the dates are telling. We saw pictures of Jonathan and Devyn and the kids, but if you look at the date here and the time, this is 19-year-old Devier. Jonathan's not in the picture. Same time frame, you see. Screenshot, 8/23/16. They're a couple. And they're a couple behind Dad's back. Same photo, same time frame, modified 5/9/22. We're coming now to the present. There'd been a long-going, torrid affair, which resulted in a marriage between a son and his father's former girlfriend. This is Devier receiving a text from Devyn. See, 11/3/21, hope it's good. I was looking, it was good, but I'm looking forward to eating something else later. Her response, Arby's, his, if that's what you call that coochie, then yeah, I guess so too. So again, it shows that this was consistent. Pictures of on Devier's phone. you'd see modified, which means looked at 5/15/23, capture time 5/15/23. Again, the date, 5/15/23. I mean, this is clearly an intimate relationship. It's not for the kids, it's not for these perceived medical issues. Devyn is in love with Devyn. Captures on his phone. You'll hear from Devyn, and we may not have a moment that we discussed yesterday where, I can't take it, I did it. Look at the motivations and why people say what they do. Devyn's 9/14/2023 grand jury testimony. And if I could just ask you a couple more questions about that. Did you and Devyn get married in the traditional sense? And this is under oath in front of a grand jury where there's jurors. It's a formal proceeding, just like a trial. His response, yes, but it was more me helping out with the girls when she couldn't find a babysitter. So I figured, well, we both kind of sat and talked about it. When she has to go to work and can't find a babysitter, I could be there. She also had a whole bunch of medical problems, and it's very expensive to keep the girls at daycare when she's sitting in the hospital, so I would normally be there to watch them. Okay, and I'm sorry to ask, was it an intimate relationship that you were in with Devyn at some point? And now we start seeing, they've got the phones. Metro and the Henderson Police Department are doing their investigations. His response changes, but nonetheless, it's still not truthful. Yes, after the first year, it started to get intimate. They were married November 21st, 2021. So if we're to take Devyn at his word, they got intimate after the first year. That gets us to December of 2022. It's a lie, and the facts show it. Did it remain intimate up until the time of your father's death? Yes. Movement, but still, there's the clues that give way to the secrets that are being consulted, and the motive for why. In his initial interview, okay, so then you knew he was moving in, and she told you that you were gonna have to move out. And this is after he's had a few drinks, probably a lot. His response, recently, yes. It was kind of a short notice, but yeah, and I mean, I know the person he is, and he's referring to his father. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll deal with it. Okay, and you were gonna move out? Did he knew that you lived here, or didn't know that you lived here? His response, no. He knew I lived here. When you look and when you weigh the evidence, you have to ask two things. Why is he saying these things? Why is he not acknowledge of getting kicked out? And this hot and heavy and sexual relationship that he's having with Devyn. It changes now. 9/12/23. I didn't know that he was going to move in. He's eliminating another motive. I didn't know what they were attempting to get over here. I didn't know that they were attempting to get remarried, or not remarried, because they were never married, attempting to get married. Again, we do get a glimpse of the truth, but he's denying that he knew that his dad was moving in, and then now he's apparently saying he didn't know they were getting married too. Well, he knew his dad was getting moved in. And he knew that they were getting married. He's out. 9/14/2023 grand jury testimony. Again, this is Devyn. Okay, did there come a point in time where you learned that your father was going to move into the address where you were living with Devyn and the two girls? His response, under oath, I'm unaware of that. Okay, did you become aware of that? After I talked to the detective, yes. Oh, okay, so that's something you learned after your father's death? His response, yes. Understood. Was there a discussion about you potentially moving out of the residence? His response? No, sir. Prior to your father's death? No, sir. Again, he's eliminating under oath the motive. This is a text that Devyn sent to him 4 days before this incident. See down at the bottom, 8/3/2023. Liar, cheater, it goes on and on. Obviously there's passion in this non-intimate relationship if you're going to take his word for it. She sends him a text 8/3/23. I want a divorce. All your shit will be waiting outside for you. 4 days before Dad's moving in. Do not even think about coming back. He tells the detective he had no idea. He had no idea there had been no discussions of him getting booted out of the house. So he's losing a wife and he's losing a home. She states, keep your alcohol. Just stay out of my life. You learn from this witness stand that Devyn had a fair amount in common with the father that he hated. He was a heavy drinker. You know, a buddy of mine was a warden in Arkansas, and he said, we eliminate women, we eliminate booze. I have nobody in my prison. 9/12/23, interview of Devyn. Well, you weren't. You weren't the main suspect. You know what I mean? This is yours. It's a little different than hers. We're here on, you didn't do it to clear you. His response, right. Does that make sense? It does. And while the chances of you even being there are so slim that it's just, there's no, that's not even on the radar. These are the detectives that are investigating this case. Perhaps they're ignorant of this, what was really going on, the real dynamic of this fairly seedy, buckle up relationship. Again, he's ruled out and basically not on the radar because he didn't have the phone on him when his dad was killed. He killed his father. He just left his phone home when he did that. He's been very clear through his interviews that he worked at home trials. He has extensive knowledge of home security systems. And we all know that most home security systems, there's a phone element to it. It caches on your phone. You have a Ring camera, Arlo, any of those. Phone-based. And Devyn has a substantial amount of technical knowledge. He also installed home entertainment systems. Then you've had speakers put in, TVs put up. You got tools. Generally a sawzall, an electronic knife, an electronic saw to make cuts through the drywall and through 2x4s. We know how that's at least one of the two instruments that was used to remove his father's head. Again, and I've addressed this, why live it? It's on 8/7, then again on 9/12, then live the grand jury on 9/14. Motives, author actions, outward statements betray secrets. He's repeatedly eliminated his motivation through the course of this investigation. And she's been complicit, whether she knew or not. She's complicit in this. We have Devyn covering for Devyn, and we have Devyn covering for Devyn. Here she is. This, and again, this is just scratching the surface, but these are photographs that are captured on Devyn's phone, just to give you an idea. And there's a long list. We could be here for much longer than we're going to. You know, he's not on any cameras. Well, yeah, that's what he does for a living. He's aware of these are security systems. He installs them. He's aware of the angles, what they pick up, and what they do. And it goes on and on. But like I said, I won't keep you here for the rest of the afternoon, but these are all, and this is just scratching the surface of what's captured on his phone. I mean, this is sophisticated stuff, and he has sophisticated knowledge. taking photographs of all this as part of his work. This is his handiwork. And there's a lot of them. I would submit to you that the facts will show and common sense will dictate he knows how to stay under the radar. He lived at the home where his father was killed. It got too bad between him and his dad. He refers to that house in the Paladera residence with Yoko and her significant other and his dad and Andrea. Jonathan's prior girlfriend was there. He talked about it being a shit show, a madhouse. He lived there for more than a couple of years. He knew how to get into that house and get out of that house. I'll thumb through these. And again, this is captured on his phone. We have a couple of tools back there. Drill. This is the home that Devyn and Devyn were living at prior to him getting kicked out. It's right here. It's on Porcupine. The person who lives there knows how to escape detection. Leave the front door, come around, you're on Rebecca Street. There's an even simpler route for a guy that's 6'4", 195 pounds. Right out the back door.
But you're wondering what it looks like with 30 in it. Pretty nice. Or
This is
like
there.
that. Yeah.
The results of the autopsy, homicidal violence, there's no real cause. No one knows for sure. Could have been a shooting. These are pictures on, and there's more, but these are just to let you see what was captured on Devyn's phone. If you look at this, this is telling. Look at the date. 8/7/23. Modified that meant it was looked at the day his dad was killed, or the afternoon, the night following his dad being killed. He looked at that. These are swords that were found in the Porcupine residence. The police went in and searched the residence on 8/7/23. This was the residence that Devyn was living at with Devyn. Samurai swords on the floor. There has been a lack of investigation, and again, this isn't bad cop, good cop. No, these are good men trying to do the best they can, but they make mistakes. They've been repeatedly lied to concerning the dynamic of a fairly complicated and salacious relationship. 2 instruments at least used to decapitate Jonathan, 1 manual tool and 1 power tool. Neither recovered. Coroner examination, tool mark analysis reveals characteristics consistent with the use of 2 tools. A hand-powered knife and mechanically powered saw. Something when someone does homes installations, security systems, entertainment systems would have and know how to use. Listen, the mechanics to decapitate a human being are difficult. I mean, you've got this complex systems, you've got the musculature, you have the veins, the arteries, you've got the trachea, you've got the vertebrae, very thick ligaments, and cartilage. It takes a lot. Hand-powered saw can do it. What's interesting, you will see, and it will play out, there's no blood spatter in the room consistent with use of power tool. Apparently there's an assumption that this decapitation occurred on the bed. I submit to you when you see the evidence, it's not consistent with that. You've got a power saw going in the neck there, and you've cutting through it, there's empty stuff all over the place. They didn't find anything. No cuts or markings to linens, the blanket, or the mattress. Devyn is 5'3" and weighs 130 pounds, something like 120. And again, and this will be for the state, because it's the state and the state alone that has to prove this case. Defense doesn't have to prove anything. There had been surveillance cameras that been up at the Paladura since 2021, and they were only taken down that evening. Jonathan was moving. We'll probably learn through the course of this trial who installed them. Safe to say it was probably Devyn. Ring was never subpoenaed for these videos. We've heard that perhaps it was wrong account information. The Michaels, the Devyn Michaels residence, she was a homeowner. The phone records were never subpoenaed. And see, this is significant because you can see on Devyn's phone that on the night of, and we don't know when this happened, wee hours of the morning, there had been calls from their home repeatedly. She was out late. She was with Jonathan. And at least for a time, Devyn was home with the kids. In fact, the same thing had happened the night before. She had been with Jonathan till 1 a.m. the previous day as well, when Devyn was presumably home, probably drinking. There's no blood or DNA analysis of the swords, the porcupine ring, but again, too, we don't take issue with it. Probably a sawzall or another hand-powered saw was used. No gun residue testing of either Devyn or Devyn. No gun residue testing at Paladura. No blood on Devyn's clothes when Yoko sees her at 1 a.m. It was actually Yoko's habit to come down from downstairs. You know, Jonathan's room, the room he was moving out of was downstairs. And through the cell phone analysis, you're going to see that it was somewhat of a shit show at that house. It was a very cantankerous relationship between Jonathan and his mother. Don't drink, you're going to get pulled over. The autopsies results will show that fatty liver, and the guy's a heavy drinker. He had GHB in his system, he had marijuana in his system. You know, the issue about the car keys and the wallet, Social Security guard being at the house that he's moving into, given not only Devyn's concern, but Yoko's concern. For most people, that may be a big deal, significant. Where this guy, getting loaded, driving regularly, yeah, take his keys. Cell phone, part of the bunch. He was moving into that residence, and that's where the police found these things. That isn't evidence of motive, not evidence of murder. There is no blood on Devyn's clothes when she goes through the CVS drive, through the pharmacy. Their kids were home. They were home the prior nights. They were living with Devyn. There had been a custody dispute, but that had been now resolved through the rekindling their relationship. She lied about the sex that she was having with Devyn, or Devyn lied about the sex she was having with Devyn, and Devyn lied about the sex she was having with Jonathan. There's no blood on the clothes investigators recovered from Devyn's house. There's no blood on her. And I'm going to show you the video in just a few minutes that the state had showed. The still. This is the night before he is dead and decapitated. Watch them. This is her. And look at her shoes for a minute, please. Shorts and her shirt. He's smiling. They're adjusting their clothes. And bear with me, this is about 1 minute and 20 seconds, but we want you to watch the whole thing. There's Jonathan. And she had spent this day with him and the girls. They were going school shopping, they were going Burlington, they were moving in things. The girls were there for good. And again, what motivation does she have to get rid of him? She had the girls all summer and was going to continue to have them. She tried to register him at school the next morning, but she wasn't able to. Unbeknownst to her, he was dead. She went back the next day and tried to register him. Look at his face. They're smiling at each other. He's smiling at her. Thanks, Mike. Did you just rewind that a little bit? I did. Here we go. Look at his face. Thank you. Oh, we skipped something. Just a second. Can we forward this just towards the end of it where Devyn's walking out? Again, look at the shoes. And this is before this beheading that the state's saying that she did. There goes Jonathan, and there she goes. Look at her shoes. Look at her shirt. Those are the shorts. CBS 227. After she leaves the Paladura house, the house that Jonathan is moving out of to move in with her, for them to be a family and rekindle this relationship, I'm going to have you believe that she's worried about stopping and picking up a prescription for her daughters. And she does that. She goes, tells the police she went to a 24-hour pharmacy because she had to get medication for girls at school. This is her rolling up. And see, it's 228. If you look at the shirt. Same shirt. And this is after she's presumably gone through this arduous task of beheading Jonathan. She has the wherewithal to get a prescription after supposedly beheading man. She arrives home shortly after that, and it's picked up on the cameras. This is the home. The police enter and photograph hours after this murder is alleged to have occurred. See down here on the right? See the shoes? Black shoes, white soles, middle of it. I think we focus on one, but there's actually two there. These are the shoes that were worn when the man was beheaded hours before. There's another pair of shoes matching those that we saw in that video, comparable hers that came across the night before. You know, you don't have to like her. You don't have to like the choices that she made. It was Benjamin Franklin that said this fact, facts are stubborn things, and the state has the facts that they have. Look at the evidence. Look at the motivations. And find her not guilty. Thank you.
Steve, are you prepared to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Full name is Marquis Cooper, Marque, last name Cooper, Cooper.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you employed?
By the city of Henderson.
What's your position there?
I am a patrol officer
How long have you worked in that capacity?
for 8 years.
And what are some of the duties of a patrol officer? Could you inform the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that may not know?
Yeah, for patrol officers, typically responding for calls for service. It can be something as simple as a civil dispute or as a shooting. So just whatever calls for service that come through the computer.
And as a patrol officer, are there certain areas that you're assigned to?
Yes, so Henderson's separated by the North Division, West and East, was assigned to the North Division. And in those, also in those North, they're separated by what they call beats or areas, which is, they're numbered on ours as 1 through 7 for the North.
And you said which area command were you responsible for on around the time frame of August 7th, 2023?
That was the North Area Command.
What types of call for service would you go out to and respond to?
As far as on that day or just in general?
Just in general.
It could be a gamut of things. I mean, like I said, a complaint, a simple complaint of neighbor dispute to a shooting to petty larceny. We had them all there, so a lot of petty larceny and things of that nature. So it can be anything you can respond to.
Then turning your attention to August 7th of 2023, were you working as a patrol officer at that time?
Yes.
And which area command was that again?
The North Area Command.
North Area Command. Were you then dispatched to a call at 2698 Paladura Drive on that date?
Yes.
Around what time did that call come out?
Don't know the exact time, but I roughly think it was around 8:50-ish.
Fair to say around 8:40 in the morning.
Yes.
And what was the nature of the call as you understood it at that time?
At that time, what I had was the CAD notes from the computer, and it just said that a mother found her son, and she saw blood, and I think the other detail was he didn't have a face. That's what the call note stated.
And then after getting that information, did you then respond to that Paladura address?
Yes.
Did you respond with anyone?
Yes, there was another officer dispatched with me, and I also responded with the Henderson Fire Department.
Do you recall which officer was with you?
Officer Flores, and then more eventually showed up after.
Okay, but initially it's you and Officer Flores that respond to this Paladura address.
Yes, ma'am.
When you responded to the address, were you in a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. How is it that you responded to the scene? And specifically what I'm wondering is, did you roll code?
Initially I started code, but I was close by, and then I shut down just because I was close by, and it was more safety reasons.
Can you inform us what rolling code means?
That is lights and sirens.
How long did it ultimately take you to get to the scene once the call came out, would you say?
I don't know the exact
Was
time.
it hours, minutes?
No, a few minutes.
And when you did arrive to the scene, were you wearing what's called a body-worn camera?
Yes.
And was that recording when you did respond?
Yes.
Prior to today, did you review that body-worn camera footage?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to admit State's Exhibit 2 that I believe has been previously stipulated between the parties for its admission.
Absolutely, no objection.
Okay, States 2 will be amended?
Your Honor, permission to publish that exhibit?
Yes.
Sir, are you able to see that in front of you at that computer screen?
Yes.
Okay. And what does that appear to be?
You sorry, what'd you say?
In front of you, what does that appear to be on the computer screen?
My body cam footage.
Okay. And specifically looking at the top right-hand position, do we see a date there?
Yeah.
And what does that date say?
8721E3.
And would that be August 7th, 2023?
Yes.
And is there a timestamp at the start of this video?
Yes. 8:46 a.m.
And about 13 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and play the video from the beginning. And specifically fast forward to about the minute mark. Publishing at 53 seconds.
Recording.
And I'm gonna pause it there at 108. That siren we heard, is that your rolling code, as you would call it?
At this point, I was just trying to get around so I think there were some cars blocking. I was trying to get around to.
Understood. Playing again from 108.
TRS 52 visual. I can't do one deliver from a paramedic call and take the numbers on service, but I logged in the call. Sure, appreciate it.
And I'm going to pause the video at 1 minute 36 seconds. So when you approach the scene, the 2698 Paladura Drive, are there already people at the residence?
Yes, the Henderson Fire Department, and there was somebody outside. I don't know who that was.
But it was a fire department response prior to your response?
Yes.
Okay. And is this you obviously walking towards the residence?
Yes.
Playing at 1 minute 36 seconds. And I just want to stop it here at 142. Is there anything unique about sort of the garage area that you saw when you were walking up to the residence?
That it was just slightly cracked.
Playing at 142. And I'm stopping here at 159. Did you hear something in the background when you arrived?
I mean, a dog barking.
Okay. Do you recall the dogs being in the house at the time?
I don't recall if they were in the house.
Playing at 159.
So listen, let's lock this down then.
Stopping it at 2 minutes 19 seconds. Was that your voice there, sir?
Yes.
And what did you say in that video?
If it was missing head, let's lock it down.
Okay. And what does lock it down mean?
Meaning there's now a crime scene, so we kind of push everybody out and freeze that area, limit access to the house essentially.
The initial response was not necessarily a response to a crime. Is that correct?
Not initially.
It was to see, essentially respond to what was being called into as someone that needed potential medical aid. Is that right?
Yes.
But once you saw this, you determined it appeared to be a crime scene and you locked it down.
Yes.
Playing again at 2:19.
We lock this down, let's FI down.
And I'm going to stop right there at 2 minutes 32 seconds because I hear another term that we may not know. What does FI mean?
FI is a field interview, so essentially we'll gather information, name, date of birth, things of that nature. It's a field interview with people involved.
Okay. And that was because you had seen, I believe we saw earlier in the video, 2 individuals that appeared to have lived in the residence that you wanted to do an interview of. Is that right?
Yes.
Playing again at 2:32.
Sarge 142, are you around?
Stopping.
Promoted to sergeant and went to patrol as a patrol sergeant. And currently I'm assigned to our police academy in charge of training all the new recruits that are coming into the department.
That's an awesome responsibility, right?
Yes,
So then turning your attention to August 7th, 2023, were you working as a patrol sergeant at that time?
patrol sergeant, yes.
Okay. And what are some of the duties of a patrol sergeant?
Well, patrol sergeants, they typically have approximately 10 patrol officers assigned to them, and you have a specific area of the city that you're responsible for. This was a North Area Command, and you basically monitoring calls that they're going on. The patrol officers are actively patrolling their areas, responding to 911, emergency, non-emergency calls, and if they need assistance from a supervisor, they'll call you to the scene. Supervisors also monitoring the radio. If you think there's a call that may be out of the ordinary and they may need assistance, you'll start heading that way. If there's any critical incidents, you're typically one of the first supervisors on scene to get it stabilized until a watch commander can come out and take over.
So then turning your attention to that date, was there sort of an out of the ordinary scene that you responded to?
Yes,
And was that at 2698 Paladura Drive in Henderson?
yes.
What was the nature of the call as you understood it?
Well, it came in as a medical call. Mom called and said that her son was injured and that he was bloody. And I recall like the dispatchers tried giving CPR instructions, and just the mom stated, however she stated, that she refused. The call note said that she refused CPR because he had no neck or head, but there was a lot of blood. So it was a medical call, basically. We were responding to unknown medical call.
Okay. So you respond to the address, is that right?
Yes.
And who was already there at the time, do you know?
The firefighters and one of my guys, Officer Cooper. I think there was a couple officers. Typically the patrol officers, because they're out and about proactively patrolling, they'll get there first, then they'll call me to the scene. So when I got there, fire was on scene, a few of my guys were on scene. They kind of established a crime scene. I met them outside, they gave me a quick brief and went in.
So at the time you arrived then, the scene was locked down as a crime scene, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What did you notice when you got to the scene?
More like outside, inside?
Yeah, let's start with the outside. So starting from the outside, when you arrived to the scene, did you notice anything of note, at the front of the home?
So I noticed the garage was partially open, maybe, I don't know, 3 feet. The exterior roll-up garage door, and at the front door, there was a older female and male sitting outside talking to one of my officers. Okay. And the front door was open, so I just went up and started talking to them.
When you say talking to them, talking to the male and female at the front door?
Yes.
And were they identified as Yoko Willette and Yoshida Masao?
Yes, it ended up being the person in the room. It was their mom and I believe her boyfriend.
So the deceased's mother?
Yes.
And the mother's boyfriend?
Yes.
So you walk into the front door of the scene, walk us through what you saw, what you heard, things of that nature.
Okay, so I go in and my officer is escorting me back. So we walk into like the living room area, go into the kitchen, take a few steps down, and come back this way. It's like a converted living room area maybe that was converted into a bedroom. And The bed is to our right, and then laying on the bed was a body, the deceased. And then, do you want me to explain that more? Or?
Was there anything you noticed that you smelled when you were inside the room?
Well, initially, but we didn't know what it was until later. But you could kind of taste and smell like a little burning that's not common walking into people's houses.
So you described it as a burning, like a chemical burning smell. Was that right?
Yeah, like you could kind of taste it a little bit, and you could definitely felt it in your nostrils. But it wasn't really strong when we first went in. As strong as it seemed like it got stronger the longer we were there.
And more in the bedroom area?
Yes.
And you may have already said this, but was there anything unique about the body when you saw it?
Well, so like I said, I came from the kitchen, down the stairs, came around. The bed is here, and the body was laying face down on the bed, and the shoulders were kind of, if the body was laying this way, face down, the shoulders were kind of even with the edge of the bed. And I think it was partially wrapped in a blanket. And just things that I noticed, there didn't appear to be like signs of any struggle or anything. Like there wasn't a bunch messed up. It was just kind of laying there. Like the arms weren't moved or anything. So it's pulled to the edge, and it just, in my mind, I thought, man, that was just a really clean cut. And then there was no head.
Okay.
And then,
Now you had mentioned the body was laying on the bed, is that right?
the body was laying on the bed, yes.
And was it on the body's stomach?
Yes,
the
on the
person's
stomach, laying face down. Yeah, the back was facing up.
Okay. And where the head would have been off the bed, is that right?
Yes, like I said, the shoulders were kind of in line right with the edge of the bed. So the head would have been out here.
Did you see any blood at the scene?
I did see blood, but just from experience over the years, like you've seen people shot or stabbed or other lose a limb on a motorcycle accident or other type of trauma to the body, you would expect to see a lot more blood. And that was something that stuck in my head, is like, there's blood, but I would expect to see a lot more, especially under where the head would have been. Like, I don't know if, like, maybe something was put there or something to collect. It's what it appeared. Like, maybe something was put there to collect the blood, because there was just what appeared to be not as much blood that you would imagine being there.
So no blood spattering, things of that nature that you might
Right.
normally
I remember there was blood on the mattress to the right of the body, and then a small, I mean, I don't know if that's small, I think there's a small amount of blood on the floor. And then, yeah, looking around, the wall wasn't very far away. You would expect to see some type of cast off, spatter, blood anywhere, but it was just, it appeared like a very clean scene, other than the body, the blood, the little blood.
Now, the color of the blood, was it unusual?
Yeah, typically, I mean, blood is pretty obvious, like we've all seen blood, but this one wasn't like the typical fresh red blood. It was more of like a black color.
And that's not normal based on your training and experience from what you've seen with bloody incidents.
Based on my experience and being at other crime scenes, with, you know, the time lapse, no, not common and not consistent with what I've seen in the past.
Now, you mentioned to us that you have 28 years of law enforcement experience.
Yes,
Was this the first decapitation you responded to in your career?
I was thinking about that. I can't recall another decapitation.
Something you would probably remember if you did see it before, right?
Yes.
So it's not your everyday event that you see something like this, right?
No.
Did you inspect any other rooms other than that bedroom where the body was found?
Yes, so after seeing that and just thinking about the blood, went around. So if you go around the bed, back there's kind of like a little hallway that led into a bathroom. So I walked into the bathroom, and before I went to the bathroom, I remember having to step over 2 bottles of like cleaning, liquid cleaning bottles, some kind of Clorox or that type of thing, bottles laying on the carpet prior to getting to the bathroom. So stepped over those, went into the bathroom because I was wondering maybe if there was blood in the sink or blood in the bathroom or anything, but nothing appeared. There didn't appear to be any blood in there, and didn't appear to be any signs of struggle in there either. So the other things that I noticed that the mom had said outside, I confirmed what she had told me, where she said when she came downstairs, she thought it was weird that the dogs were locked out, and the interior garage door, the single door, was propped open, and then the exterior door was rolled up. So when I came out of the bathroom, I noticed that the interior garage door was propped open, the exterior roll-up door was part of the way up.
Okay. Now I want to turn back to the body that you saw. Did you notice anything peculiar emanating from the body?
It was actually pointed out by one of my officers on the scene. I was kind of by the foot of the bed, I think, and he said, "Hey, Sarge, this guy is smoking." And I was like, "What?" He said, "This guy is smoking. There's smoke coming from underneath him." So I go over there and see he's shining his flashlight. You could see kind of smoke coming off of the body, or what appeared to be some smoke coming off the body. So I told my officer, I said, "Hey, get a camera and start taking pictures of this scene," because in my mind I'm thinking, if this catches on fire, we need to get as much photos as we can before we lose the scene to a fire and then firemen shooting water all over everything. So let's try and get as much photos as we can. So then we get closer and he's shining his light, and then you can really start. It was coming, like I said, if he's laying face down on his shoulders, it was more coming from like under him, around like
from like the chest area?
Yeah, from between like the bed and him. So that's why I didn't know, all right, is this something that's going to start on fire? But then once we got closer, taking a closer look, that's when you could really smell, and it burned inside of your nose, and you could really taste it. So I'm like, hey, we got to clear the guys out of there. This is some kind of chemical that's mixing.
Okay. Did you eventually then get a statement from Yoko Willette, the deceased mother?
I talked to her.
Okay.
I didn't get like an official statement like a detective.
You spoke with her.
I spoke
Is that right?
with her.
What did she share with you?
She shared with me that she last saw them.
And it's not being offered for the truth of the matter, sir. It is just for the investigation and what led to the investigation. So after taking this statement or speaking with Yoko,
Yes.
and conducting that initial investigation, did you eventually call the lieutenant to come out?
Yes, the patrol supervisor, yeah, that's your job. You get there, make sure the crime scene is locked down, taped off, so all the evidence and the crime scene's preserved. Then that's why I spoke to her, to get a brief story, so I could report up my chain. So once I get the story, my guy's observations, the story from mom, I put that together. I call my watch commander, and then we make notifications to get detectives and crime scene to come out to the scene to hand over the investigation to them.
And did you learn through your investigation that there were children as well involved?
Yes.
Okay. And were you attempting to locate those children?
Yes, and that was because the mom had, and part of my conversation with her said that he was supposed to take the kids to school.
Okay. And I believe you mentioned there was crime scene tape that was put up around the residence to lock it down as well.
Yes.
Okay. And while you were waiting for the lieutenant as well as other investigators to arrive, did you also still investigate the scene and look around for different things of evidentiary value?
Yes, the male's truck was outside, so we moved the crime scene tape around the truck. Noticed, I think, what we thought there were spots on the driveway that we thought may be evidence. So, yeah, and at that point, I kind of break away once it's secure, and then I start kind of getting my thoughts and the information put down, because when the detectives and crime scenes show up, it's my responsibility to give them a brief when I turn over the scene.
And as part of your duties as well, did you initially send individuals, other officers, to canvass for different surveillance footage as well?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of standard protocol on the crime scenes. Once you have everything secure, your extra officers go out, try and find witnesses. Other officers go and try and video surveillance that may have caught something.
So you mentioned that you were putting together a brief for this case, is that right?
Yes.
And as part of that brief, is there an event number and a report number assigned to the case?
Yes.
Can you tell us the difference between the two?
Well, the event number is a longer number. It's the year, the month, the day, and then the number of calls in that 24-hour period. So at midnight, the next police emergency call that comes in will be year, month, day 001. The 10th call will be 0010. So that's how the event numbers cover the 24-hour period of police work. And then the report number covers the annual period of police work for police reports taken. So it'll start with the year and then the number of report it is. So January 1st, 1201, the first police report taken will be, for next year, will be 26, 4 zeros and a 1.
Okay. So starting then with the event number, in this case, do you have a reason to dispute that the event number was HP 230807000355?
No.
Okay. And the report number for this case, do you have a reason to dispute it being 23-15229?
No.
Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
And so while you're doing your briefing, eventually detectives and crime scene analysts eventually show up to the scene. Is that right?
Yes.
And after they showed up, what did you do?
So they showed up. I let them know about the chemical smell, the possible hazard, and the smoking. And then, like I said, I give them a brief. Basically, I write up. It has the report number, location, the rescue that was on scene, their information, the initial patrol officers that made entry with them, the time they made entry, then the information of the deceased, the information of the other people in the home. It's just basically like an overview of what we have. And then that there was no obvious weapon on the scene, and just kind of some of the abnormal, typical things that we talked about already.
And so after you give this briefing, does your role cease at that point?
Yes, that's when, if they have any questions, they would ask questions. Then I do a walkthrough with them, showing them where my officers went, what we did, things that we thought may possibly be important, and then turn over the scene to them, and then we move out, and then they handle it. So I would then look at my staffing and see how many people do I need here for this. For sure, one for the crime scene log up front, and then I start clearing guys off the call to go clear up other calls that are pending.
Thank you. Court's indulgence. State passes the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sergeant Seals, you've been employed in law enforcement for 28 years.
Yes, sir.
Worked your way up.
Yes, sir.
You're an instructor.
Yes, sir.
A lot of experience.
Yes.
You testified that you'd been in multiple crime scenes through these 28 years.
Yes.
Fair to say that, you know, a severed appendage, an arm or a leg is going to bleed, but a head, I mean, there's got to be a lot more blood going on there, correct? One would assume.
You would think so.
And you would testify that when you got there, having been on so many crime scenes, you'd go and you look in the bathroom because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you're assuming this head wasn't, I mean, removed from the body here on the bed. It had to have been somewhere else. Fair to say?
No, I didn't say that. It seemed like because the shoulders were pulled to the edge of the bed, it appeared that it was done there. But I was looking to see, you know, because that, yeah, the shoulders pulled over here. It didn't appear that it was done somewhere else.
But you said you went and looked in the bathroom, correct?
Yeah, to see if there was like cleanup, signs of struggle or something.
Blood?
Yeah, blood from while washing your hands. Because I looked in the sink around the ring and didn't see anything that...
Based upon the blood markings on the bed, it was clear the body had been moved.
I can't say that. I don't...
Okay. Can't give an opinion one way or the other?
Well, the body was here. There was blood on the right side of the body. And like I said, directly under where the shoulders were, there was an area of blood like that. But I don't, yeah.
But you testified things just didn't seem right, and that's why you went and you looked in the bathroom, correct?
Yes.
And, I mean, you'd agree with me, you talk about a bucket, I mean, that's just, you're speculating. I mean, you're hypothesizing, fair to say.
Absolutely.
And fair to say that you can't say. I mean, something was wrong, so you went and you looked in the bathroom, correct? Based upon what you saw.
Based on what I saw, like I said, that is speculation, but it's like what made sense with the way that the blood was, the body was, lack of blood on the thing, the shoulders lined up with the side. And part of me going into the bathroom also is just before I turn things over to detectives, I want to make sure that I checked everything in case they have questions for me.
Fair enough. But again, you would have expected to have seen a lot more blood, correct? Had
Yes.
the head just been chopped off or sawed off or however removed there, correct?
If they were alive at the time, you know, because typically when I have seen those injuries, if you're alive, your blood is pumping and it squirts. It's, you know, I've seen a guy cut his neck and it squirts.
All over the place. Have you ever had any cases
If they're
where a
alive.
head, you ever had an experience though where a head's been cut off with a saw, alive or dead?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so we don't know
Yeah.
then. Fair to say?
Fair to
But you
say.
went and looked in the bathroom, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for this witness, sir, you can write your question on a full sheet of paper with your name and your juror number. Can counsel approach?
Yes, ma'am, Judge.
In speaking to the homeowner, Shoko, were the dogs hers or the victim? Did she tell you?
The only thing, the direct answer to your question is, I don't know whose they were.
Okay. Was it no? Did she tell you if it was normal for them to be locked out based on your conversation with Yoko?
She said it was abnormal.
Okay. State any follow-up based on the juror question?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, have any further questions for this witness? Okay, seeing no response, sir, you are excused. Thank you very much for your testimony here today.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next witness is going to take a little bit of time, so we're going to take a brief bathroom break, and the next witness will take us through the rest of the day. During this break, you must not discuss or communicate with anyone, including fellow jurors, in any way regarding this case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. You must not read, watch, or listen to any news or media the accounts or commentaries on the case. You must not do any research such as consulting dictionaries, using the internet, or using references. You must not make an investigation, test the theory of the case, reprove any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own. You must not forward or trust any opinion regarding this case to a spot submitted to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 3:25, we'll get research on 3:40.
All rise for the jury.
Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Merci.
Thank you.
And can you please state your full name and then spell it for the record?
Stephanie Wilson, STEPHANIE WILSON.
Thank you. Ma'am, what do you do for a living?
I am currently employed as the crime scene analyst supervisor for the Henderson Police Department.
And how long have you been with Henderson Police Department in total?
I've been with Henderson for 18 years,
How long have you been working in your current capacity as crime scene supervisor?
for 13 years.
What did you do prior to being the crime scene supervisor?
I was a crime scene analyst with Henderson, and then 2 years prior to me getting hired on at Henderson, I was employed with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, also as a crime scene analyst.
And what type of training and education do you have that allows you to do what you do?
So upon getting hired, you go through an 11-week academy. It's like a classroom type setting. If you successfully complete field training, you go through, the academy, you go through about 16 weeks of field training. And then my current job also requires a certification through the International Association for Identification, where we have to have so much ongoing training every year. So
I would presume Henderson Police Department responds to calls for service in Henderson.
correct,
That's here within Clark County, Nevada.
correct.
What types of calls for service have you responded to in your career, Jim?
Everything ranging from property crimes all the way up to homicides, officer-involved shootings, everything across the board.
Let's focus in on homicides. Describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who may not be familiar with law enforcement. How is it that you get involved in a homicide scene?
In my current capacity, I respond to all homicides. I'm the only crime scene supervisor for Henderson PD, so my job is to respond and to assist my folks and facilitate whatever they need in that capacity.
If you could describe the general duties of a crime scene analyst, not necessarily yourself, but someone who's just a crime scene analyst.
Sure. So we respond to the scene and we handle all aspects of the crime scene documentation, everything from taking photos to evidence collection to latent print processing, shooting reconstruction, blood stain pattern analysis, anything and everything involving crime scene documentation.
When you document a crime scene, I presume that is done under a particular report number, event number?
Yes.
And is that a unique identifying number that allows you to categorize everything from this particular scene or investigation is associated with this number?
Yes.
And then Henderson tracks their event number via a report writing system, and people can add to that and update reports. Is that
Correct.
fair? In this particular case, were you operating under event number 23-15229?
Yes.
If you could describe for the ladies and gentlemen how it is that you received this call for service.
So on an incident like this, I will typically get notified by the detective sergeant. Usually the homicide sergeant or the homicide lieutenant will get the initial call from patrol, and then they will call me and let me know that we may have an incident, and we'll coordinate detectives as well as crime scene personnel responding to the scene.
And is it your duty or your responsibility to assign your crime scene analyst to a particular call?
Yes.
And is that based on a rotation or a shift? How does that work?
So my folks are assigned shifts, so they work shifts, and then once we get to the scene and determine what we have, we'll start assigning responsibilities.
And on August 7th of 2023, our date in question, do you remember how many crime scene analysts you were supervising at the time?
2 at the time.
At that scene?
At that scene, yes.
Overall, how many in your team?
8. I have 8 total.
Okay. And is it common for a homicide scene such as this to have 2 plus a supervisor?
At least 2, if not more, and myself as well.
Okay. Who are the other 2 that responded to this scene with you?
So I had CSA Megan Bone and CSA Randy Newbold with me.
And you mentioned dividing up duties. How do you go about doing that?
It's usually based on a rotation at some level, workloads, but usually one person is assigned photographs and writing the report, and the other person is assigned evidence and diagramming.
And you mentioned processing earlier, like latent print process.
Correct.
Is that actually something you and the crime scene analysts do hands-on?
Yes.
Can you describe generally the process of latent print processing and then go into DNA processing?
Sure. So latent print processing is really determined on the surface area that we're trying to process. Depending on whatever you're trying to process will determine what type of powders we use. There's multiple different types of powders or techniques we'll utilize, again, depending on that surface. But we will utilize these powders. We will photograph it if needs be, and then using tape, we'll collect the tape, and we'll collect it using the tape, putting it on the latent print card.
How about DNA processing?
So DNA processing is, we'll get there, we'll do a visual inspection. If something looks like it could be blood, we'll photograph it first, and then we will perform a presumptive test to see if it is blood. There's a lot of things that look like blood that are maybe not blood, so we'll perform a presumptive test, and then if it is determined to be blood, we'll document it accordingly and collect a sample.
Okay. So the instant case, you responded on August 7th of 2023.
Yes.
Did you respond to 2698 Paladura?
Yes.
Obviously within your jurisdiction of Henderson.
Correct.
And do you remember around what time you responded?
We arrived at the scene at roughly about 10 in the morning.
When you responded to the scene, did you get a briefing from the folks who were already on scene?
We did. From the patrol personnel on scene, we got a briefing.
When you received the briefing, well, generally, what is the purpose of getting a briefing?
It's just to get all the information we have up until that point. Usually it's just to get report numbers, names, dates of births, details of the calls for service, maybe what patrol or fire observed when they first got there, just kind of your basic preliminary information.
Are there times in which you will receive a briefing and that will guide you in what to focus on, what is normal or abnormal in the scene, etc.?
Yes.
And so you're receiving this information in order to determine kind of how to approach the scene, etc.?
Sure.
What was the briefing you received in this case?
In this particular case, we received information that the victim had been found by his mother, that he was laying in bed, and that there was a strong odor of chemicals in the area that he was found. We weren't really sure yet what we had. Patrol had advised that they believed that his head was gone, was missing. That is such a rare occasion, or I guess circumstance for us, that we still were a little skeptical going into that. We weren't sure if we were dealing with, a gunshot wound or something like that that could explain that, I guess. So.
Well, let me stop you. Just,
okay.
Are there times in which you've responded to scenes where it may be reported in that way, the head is gone, but it's just severely damaged from a gunshot wound or something like that?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
A little skeptical.
Yes.
Didn't really think it was an actual decapitation.
Correct.
Okay. And so you received that information. Do you receive information related to how many people were at the home at the time the body was discovered?
Yes, we were told that there were, the victim was in the scene, and then there were 2 other individuals that were in the scene.
And were those 2 elderly Asian American folks?
Yes.
Did you see them when you arrived? Are they still there?
We did. We did. They had moved them outside of the house. They were sitting outside the front of the house.
And after receiving your briefing, do you essentially go in and do what we refer to as a walkthrough?
Yes.
What does that mean for the jury?
So we go in and we just do a brief walk around the scene and see what we have. We're not starting anything at that point. We're just assessing the scene and what's in the scene and what we need to be cognizant of, and it's just very brief.
Okay. Once the walkthrough is done, and I presume a search warrant was authored and issued
Yes.
in the process of this.
Yes,
And pursuant to that search warrant, a judge authorized you all to go in and do your investigation.
correct.
When the walkthrough is going on, are crime scene analysts documenting at that time?
Not during the walkthrough.
Okay, so it's the next step when they begin documentation?
Right. We actually try to limit how many people go through the initial walkthrough because we want to try to minimize any type of contamination,
Sure.
if at all possible. So not everyone necessarily does the walkthrough, but yes, once the search warrant is signed and we're authorized to go in at that point, I send in one person, usually that person taking photos, and they go in by themselves so that we're minimizing any contamination, and they photograph the entire scene.
And you bring up a good point. Is it common on homicide scenes for first responders to have gone into the scene before your arrival?
Yes,
And first responders could be patrol officers and or fire department paramedics, etc.
that's what happens most of the time, yes,
I would presume their goal is life-saving measures initially.
absolutely.
Your goal is a little different. Once it's clear that the life is not being saved, you're then trying to limit access.
Correct,
But you're certainly not going to limit someone going in to try to save somebody's life.
correct.
Okay. And in this case, you mentioned that the duties were divided up a bit.
Yes.
Did you say who was doing photography?
CSA Megan Bone.
Okay. And is there typically what's referred to as a crime scene diagram authored?
Yes.
Who did that in this case?
So in this particular case, we had actually just gotten a new piece of equipment. We had just gotten a scanner. It's like a 3D scanner. So I actually did the scans of the scene, and it just generates point cloud data of the scene. And Megan was able to take that data and put it into this computerized diagram.
May I approach?
Yes.
Showing scene 16, do you recognize that?
Yes,
What does that appear to be?
that is the diagram of the scene.
With the addition of that,
Any objection to that?
No objection.
That be real?
may I publish?
Yes.
Thank you. Showing the jury 16. So this particular diagram, does this encompass kind of the lower levels of the home?
Yes.
Describe the home and kind of generally how it was set up, including levels.
So when you initially walk through the front door of the residence, I would consider that maybe a lower level. You walk in the front door into this formal living room. From there, there's like a couple of steps that lead up into that formal dining room and kitchen area. The dining room and kitchen area are all on essentially the same level. From there, on, I guess it would be the east side of that dining area, next to the kitchen, there is again another set of a couple stairs that lead back down into that living room where the decedent was found.
So bottom left of the diagram, exhibit 16, is this the front door?
Yes,
And then you said you walk into the living room,
yes,
and then there are a couple steps up to the formal dining room,
yes,
and then a couple steps down to what we'll refer to as, the victim's room.
yes,
And here it's listed as living room. It's kind of a converted room, is that fair?
yes,
Dining and formal dining room are on the same level,
yes,
and then there's some stairs that go up to bedrooms upstairs.
correct.
Okay. Based upon the scene and kind of how you're approaching it, I would presume that you searched the entire house.
We did not personally, the crime scene personnel didn't search the entire house,
Yeah.
but yes.
And when I say you, I'm referring to all of Henderson.
Yes.
I should have been more specific.
Okay, yes,
You, as well as homicide detectives, are searching the entirety of the scene.
correct,
Searching and photographing and documenting are different things.
correct.
Okay. You guys are documenting this.
Yes,
Okay. The garage here is down to the bottom right, correct?
yes,
And then just for the record, what is all this we're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen?
So it's a legend of the diagram, so you can kind of see the title. So we have the report number, the address, what type of incident it is, who completed the diagram, and then we have, like I said, a legend of the evidence and items that we collected within the scene. And then a scale, it's a rough scale, and approximate scale, and then an arrow showing directionality.
Okay. Approximate scale, this is by foot?
Yes.
Okay. And then the evidence is listed as 1 ammonia bottle, 2 bleach bottle, 3 dog door insert, 4 documents, fair?
Correct.
Those numbers then correspond with these little yellow numbers inside the diagram?
Yes.
And that's attempting to depict those exactly where they're found.
Correct.
And then obviously, we have the victim's body there on the bed, is that correct?
Yes.
Prior to you coming into the courtroom, did you have an opportunity to look through exhibits 16 to 234?
Yes, I did.
You thumbed through all of those?
I did.
To save some time, you did it in the hallway?
I did.
And did all those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of the crime scene photos, or some of them that were taken at this scene?
Yes.
And I would move for the admission of 16 to 195 and then 208 through 234.
No objection.
No objection to those? Okay. 16 to 195 and 208 to 234?
Yes.
Okay.
Move
You did.
move to publish.
Permission to post them all.
Thank you. Showing you 17, what is this?
So that is a gray card that is part of our standard procedure for my folks. When they photograph any crime scene, they begin with this photo card, if you will, which again tells us the date, the report number, who's taking the photos, and from a photographic standpoint, the color scale along the bottom could be important as well.
Okay, and the photographed by, it says MB1678. What does MB stand for?
Megan Bone.
And 1678?
That's her P number.
P number is an individualized personnel number?
Correct.
Just another way of tracking evidence and such.
Correct.
Showing you states 18. Is this 2698 Paladura?
Yes.
Obviously located within a residential neighborhood?
Yes.
And describe kind of what we're seeing in this particular photograph.
This is the front of the house. This is how it appeared when we arrived. The garage door was partially up like that. There was crime scene tape that had been placed by patrol officers. There was a cone in the driveway that had been put there by patrol officers. And during our initial briefing, we'd been told that they believed that they had located an area of blood. And so they had kind of identified that and marked that with a cone. And then you can see one of the individuals who lived in the house was sitting out front with one of the patrol officers.
Anything of note about the garage?
The garage door was found in that position, partially up.
Okay. 19, is this just the address marker and a little sign that says guard dog on duty?
Yes.
20, just for the record, that's the garage?
Yes.
And could you estimate, was that like 2 feet, 3 feet? Can you remember?
Not exactly, but I would guess about 2 feet.
States 21, what are we looking at here?
That's the cone that patrol had placed in the driveway.
Is that to the left of the cone a little spot of apparent blood?
Yes.
Was that presumptively tested?
Yes, it was.
And what was the result of that?
It was presumptive positive for blood.
As a result of the presumptive positive test, what do you and your team do with that?
So we use our own placard, which there are additional photos of later on. We use our own placard to identify this area of blood. In this case, I believe it was marker A.
States 22.
And we re-photograph it again with our placard, and then we will collect a sample of it.
Okay. And so in 22, you can see there's a couple of, looks like spots or like a trail or whatever you want to call it. Is that right?
Correct.
I'm going to try not to be redundant with the photos. I'm going to draw your attention to 24. For the record, when you're looking at the home, is this the right side gate or entrance area which would lead to the garage? I'm sorry, to the backyard.
To the side yard, yes.
And was that obstructed?
Yes, it was completely closed off.
By what?
This wood fence.
Okay, just for the record. There are 3 large trash cans there.
Yes.
We'll get to that a little bit later. States 25, those trash cans, and then that wood fence, I guess, covers the entirety of that way into the backyard, correct?
Correct.
Showing you states 26, are we now looking at, if you're facing the home, the left side, which would be the potential other entrance to the backyard?
Yes.
27, just a little bit closer there, showing that.
The gate, yes.
And that gate appears to be a gate that does swing.
It does.
Correct. We'll get to the backyard in a little bit. Showing you states 28, is this the front door?
It is.
Any signs of forced entry to the front door?
None.
States 29, is that just documenting and showing that the door wasn't busted out?
Yes.
30, what are we looking at here?
So that is that front living room right when you walk in through the front door.
Photographer is basically standing in the threshold of the front door?
Yes.
31, what perspective are we looking at now?
So again, in that same position, right on that threshold of the front door, looking up into the dining area.
You can see what appears to be a power tool here to the right. Can you see it?
Yes.
Fair to say that's not a saw?
Correct.
Some other
yes.
kind of power tool, okay. And then 32, where are we oriented now?
We're in that same living room, or we're in that same living room, just standing just to the side of the front door.
And
And you can see the stairs going up to the second floor.
Okay, so these on the right-hand side are the stairs you referred to going up to kind of the living area, and then to the right, that goes up to the upper level.
Correct.
States 34, have we now gone up one level?
Yes.
And do you remember what this is referred to in the
dining area?
Okay. So these are overall photographs?
Yes.
Before anything is kind of moved and searched?
Correct, yes.
35, orient us please.
Same in that dining area, but you can kind of see the entry going into the kitchen.
36, is this just showing the stairs that lead up to the, I guess it's the 3rd floor, but the upper level?
Yes.
37, what are we looking at here?
That is a closet just inside that kitchen area.
38,
That's an overall of the kitchen.
39, just a different angle of the kitchen.
Yes.
Was the kitchen searched and documented?
Yes.
40, is that the kitchen?
Yes.
43, start opening cabinets and you and your team are searching through everything?
Yes.
44, I'm sorry, 44. Oops. Zoom back out. Still in the kitchen, opened up the dishwasher.
Yes.
Nothing of evidentiary value or note in there.
No.
And I won't go through all these, but I mean, you're opening these cabinets and going through pretty much everything, right?
Correct.
46, knife drawer.
Yes.
In here, we have kind of your common steak knives and butter knives over here. Is that fair?
Yes.
48, another utensil drawer or a couple of utensil drawers.
Yes.
And there are several other drawers, cabinets that are photographed in the kitchen. Is that right?
Yes.
Anything that you found that had any apparent blood on it or anything of potential evidentiary value?
Nothing.
And you went into the 56, went into the fridge, documented everything, fair?
Yes.
Focus in on 61. What is this here?
That is one of 2 trash cans that were located in that kitchen area.
And that trash can was searched?
Yes.
Anything of potential evidentiary value?
No.
Random question for you. Did you find any engagement ring or any type of ring in the trash?
No,
In any trash can?
no.
States 63, what are we looking at here?
That is the adjacent dining area to the kitchen.
Okay. And so in the background, you can see an entrance to a room. Where is that going?
That is going down to the living room makeshift bedroom area that the victim was found in.
And before we move out of this kitchen or dining area, 65, is that another trash can?
Yes.
Searched?
Yes.
No ring?
That one was completely empty.
$67, what are we looking at here?
So that is standing right on, in the dining area, right before those steps leading down into, again, the living area, makeshift bedroom area.
And just for the record, there is no door that enters into this room,
No.
correct? There is what appears to be a flag and or a bed sheet that kind of doubles, I guess, as a door or block.
Yes.
68.
So this isn't a basic overall, we're starting to get into the overalls of that living area, again, bedroom, makeshift bedroom area.
69, same room, just different perspective.
Yes,
70, same room, different perspective.
yes,
Now we're finally seeing the bed for the first time.
yes,
That's kind of tucked around the corner there, is that correct?
that's correct.
71. So what does this hallway lead to here?
So that hallway leads to a bathroom and the laundry room that connects to the garage.
Okay. 72, different perspective, same room.
Yes,
73, different perspective, same room.
yes,
74, same room,
yes.
different perspective. $78, what are we looking at here?
So along the south wall of that room was like fireplace area, and it had this shelving area on top of it.
A fireplace area, but it appeared it's blocked off.
Yes.
Right, it's kind of doubling as shelves.
Correct, yes.
79 is this?
That's a table in that room.
All right. Before we approach the bed, so are there any general observations you made of this part of the scene before we get into the bed and the body?
It appeared to be cluttered with clothing and other various items. There was nothing that particularly stood out visually. Again, just that it was dirty and cluttered and kind of unkempt.
And obviously no weapons or anything
No.
like that you found at this point.
Yeah.
So states 80, we're kind of shifting over to the bed here. What are we looking at?
A shoe, some socks, some random clothing items.
One of those random clothing items is some black boxers.
Yes,
Okay. You got a shoe, some socks, and some wires, correct?
correct.
Showing you now states 81. Just please, for the record, orient us.
So we're looking north at the bed. So that's the north wall. And that's the bed that's tucked away in that whole side of the room.
'82. What portion of the bed are we looking at here?
That's the headboard of that bed.
And you're documenting kind of the gap in between the headboard and the bed?
Yes,
83, getting a little closer to the bed here.
yes,
84, now we're at the foot of the bed.
correct.
Did you find anything of potential evidentiary value, flip that, down near the foot of the bed?
That's where we started seeing what appeared to be blood.
Okay.
towards the foot of the bed.
And I do have photos later that show your markers, but do you remember where that particular blood was?
Right on the foot portion of that bed, that wood frame of the bed, we started seeing like our first drops of blood.
Okay. We're getting a weird glare here, so let me see if we can.
And some on the carpeting.
84A. For the record, that was within the stack 84A, but I don't think I mentioned that.
I don't think you mentioned it.
We moved the omission of the A as well.
Okay.
No objection.
Okay.
Thanks. So now we are, we're still on the other side of the bed. I apologize. I'll show you. 86. So what are we looking at here?
So that's on the opposite side of the bed. Now we're at, standing on the opposite side of the bed, where you can see the top portion of the victim, and you have that small kind of area just between the bed and dresser, some other furniture items along that wall.
For the record, the victim's his shoulders are kind of adjacent or parallel to the left side of the bed in this photo.
Yes.
The left edge, I should say. Yes?
Yes.
Did you make any observations about the blood patterns here on top of the bed?
There were some what appeared to be deep saturation blood stains on that side of the bed.
There is a glare, and I've been trying to fix it, but tell me if you need me to bring this photo up to you. Do you remember this particular stain, saturation closest to the foot of the bed being more red in color?
I don't remember that specifically.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
I can see it in this photo, yes.
Counsel, which exhibit's that?
Sorry, 86.
Thank you.
And then down on the ground, did you make any observations?
Yes, there was another area of what appeared to be just saturated blood right on the ground right below.
91, that shows it a little bit better. I'm going to try to zoom in. The larger stain on the ground, is that an area you would refer to as a saturation point?
Yes,
And then there's another lighter spot above that, correct?
correct.
Just tell me kind of what your observations were related to this blood and the positioning of the victim.
So that was right below where the victim's head would have been. Clearly that's where we saw the bloodletting injury, if you will, occurring. So that's where carpet is a little difficult, but those were saturation stains. So it was just blood that had pooled and saturated in those areas right below where he was at.
Showing you 92. Is this that same stain, just a
Yes.
different perspective?
Yes.
Do you see areas of kind of displacement or like odd patterning here?
It's difficult to determine that, but to determine like clean borders, but
Sure.
yes.
Sure. Clean borders, like what are you referring to? What does that mean?
Like if something had been placed there, carpet again is difficult because you don't get those clean borders that you would see like on a hard surface or a non-porous surface. Carpet is a little more difficult, but yes, like you can, I guess, see the outline of where the stain ends.
On the right side of the stain, it looks like there's almost a straight line. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. I would presume your photographer got a little closer and took several photographs of this area as well as the victim's shoulders.
Yes.
Showing you now 93. This is a little bit better photo of the patterning here on the bed. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you make any deductions or observations related to the amount of blood, the positioning of the blood, etc.?
We didn't at that time, no. We just clearly observed and documented that this just was a very large saturation blood stain.
'98, this is a different perspective. Oops. What are we looking at here?
So that is the upper portion of the victim, again, void of his head.
And just for the record, is there a substantial amount of blood on top of a blue and white comforter?
Yes.
And then what is this item right here?
That's a large pillow that was underneath the top portion of the victim's torso.
States 101, different perspective of the area where his head should be, correct?
Correct.
Did you make any observations about the color, I guess texture, or anything about the blood?
Yes, the blood appeared black, just dark, extremely dark, atypical of what we usually see.
And I should have asked you earlier, did you smell anything while you were in the scene?
It was overwhelmingly, the chemical smell was overwhelming, burning our eyes, burning our nostrils. It was overpowering the chemical smell that was coming specifically from this area. That smell was present throughout this room, but the closer you got to this area of the victim, when you walked around the foot of the bed and came towards this area, it was overpowering.
I'll show you one more. States 100. For the record, kind of the same perspective, but it shows a little bit of the pooling over here as well.
Yes.
And ma'am, did you make any general deductions related to where this person was decapitated?
We felt like it was done right there.
Why do you say that?
I mean, there wasn't any signs of a struggle. There wasn't any signs that he'd been moved. There wasn't, if anything, we hypothesized whether or not he'd been rolled from back to front, but that was the extent of the movement that we felt that he had gone through. That there was no movement outside of that.
Okay, and so rolled from the spot that is pretty apparent down a little closer to the foot of the bed?
Correct. Either rolled or, again, something that had blood on it had been placed there that caused that saturation stain. But as far as him himself, we didn't feel like there was any movement or very little movement.
Now I have a personal question for you. How tall are you?
5'2".
You are a petite woman, we can all see. Did it appear to you that his body was the size where someone like you could roll him over?
Sure, yeah.
The documentation doesn't end here, correct?
Correct.
Eventually the sheets and stuff are kind of peeled off onion-like layers, right?
Yes.
Well, you looked closely at the victim's neck where his head was decapitated.
Yes.
Did you make any observations about the injury itself?
No, I mean, not about the injury itself, no.
Okay. So I want to show you 104, and you mentioned the chemical smell earlier. Did you observe any injuries to the body that may have been consistent with some kind of burning of chemicals?
Yes, he was covered in what appeared to be almost like blisters, or I guess burn or chemical burns throughout his body.
States 106. Is that an angle of the backside of his left shoulder?
Yes.
And left inner arm?
Yes.
And are these some of the blistery kind of burn-like marks you're seeing?
Yes.
And many of those are documented closer. I won't go through all of them, but they're documented closer, correct?
Yes.
Moving away from the body now to 109, what are we looking at?
That is looking down that short hallway leading towards, again, there's a hallway bathroom off to the right, and then you can see the laundry room and that door that leads out to the garage.
110. What are we looking at there?
So those were two, I guess, bottles of cleaning supplies that were found on the ground. Right, that door is the door to the bathroom. So one of them was a bottle of ammonia, and the other one is a bottle of soft scrub.
States 111, where are we looking here?
That's looking into the bathroom, that hallway bathroom.
And that's all documented as well?
Yes.
States 112, what are we looking at here?
That's a picture of the vanity in that bathroom.
Including the sink and the toilet?
Yes.
And then we're trying to get a photo of the shower printed, but that's all looked at and documented.
Yes.
Did you observe any signs of blood in the bathroom area?
No, we did not.
Had you would have swabbed it and taken it, I presume?
Yes.
Going back for a moment. To states 100. Would you agree with me that the blood in this area is generally focused where his head should be, and then at the bottom of the, or I guess the foot of the bed and the ground?
Yes.
Directly underneath it?
Yes.
Have you responded to crime scenes involving gunshot wounds?
Yes.
How, I mean, any estimate, thousands, hundreds?
Hundreds.
Okay. Have you responded to scenes involving stab wounds?
Yes.
And is it common to observe blood kind of less focused in one area in those types of scenes?
Can you explain that?
Well, would you expect with a gunshot wound cast off or spray or spatter?
Yes, absolutely.
What are those terms that I just used, just so the jury understands?
So anytime you have like a gunshot wound injury, you will see various types of blood stain, blood spatter, if you will. We have forward spatter, you'll have back spatter. For injuries involving like sharp objects like stabbings, a lot of times you'll see cast off patterns, things like that. So there's all different various types of blood spatter depending on what type of injuries or implements cause those injuries.
Sure. And if an injury occurs while a person is alive, it's probably more likely that their arteries are pumping and their veins are pumping.
Absolutely.
If an injury occurs that's not, if a decapitation occurs post-mortem, there's not going to be spurting, correct?
Correct.
And I should ask the general question, did you observe any spatter, cast off, or anything on the walls,
No.
on the headboard,
No.
on the ceiling,
No.
on the, anything else that's kind of cluttered around the
No.
body? Anything of evidentiary value found in the washer and dryer?
No.
Other than the two chemical bottles on the ground, anything of evidentiary value found in that hallway or bathroom area?
No.
$119. Is this the door, the garage door?
Yes.
And I guess, what perspective are we looking at this at?
So you're inside the garage.
Okay, so we pass through that hallway, past the bathroom, into
Right.
120, what are we looking at here?
That's an overall inside the garage.
$121, different perspective, but kind of capturing the other angle.
Yes.
$122, also in the garage.
Yes.
Did you, and I should say all of you, HPD,
Yes.
did you turn this garage upside down as well?
Yes.
Is there any weapons found in this garage?
No.
Anything with apparent blood on it?
No.
And obvious question, did you find the victim's head anywhere in the garage?
No.
Going back to the bedroom for a minute, 123, is this the slider leading to the backyard?
Yes.
And 125, when you move the blinds back, what is this here?
So that's a doggy door insert that goes inside of the sliding glass door, and it has that glass panel, and then at the very bottom was a doggy door.
And for the record, that doggy door is closed.
Yes,
And then this particular, the latch on the slider, was that open or closed?
open.
Open. Ultimately, did you and other crime scene analysts impound this dog door
We did.
cover? And those 2 chemical bottles?
We did.
Showing you 128, what are we looking at here?
That's an overall of the backyard.
129, what are we looking at here?
That's the side gate that we previously looked at inside of the house.
I'm going to try to zoom in the best I can. This is not the gate where we saw the big wooden fence.
No.
So if you're looking at the house from the front, this would be the left gate.
Yes.
And in the back, obviously, the right gate. Could anyone access that gate from the front? Like, what are we looking at here?
That is, it was like wood boards and everything, like on the ground, in front of the gate.
Okay, and that gate, for the record, swings into the backyard,
Yes,
and that would be obstructing.
yes.
And we're gonna come back to the backyard in a minute. I'm gonna just try to make this more efficient. 130, you go upstairs.
Yes,
You and other crime scene personnel document all of that.
yes.
131, this is the upstairs area.
Yep, right at the top of the stairs.
And just as an example, 132, you're opening cabinets, you're going through everything, correct?
Correct.
Without showing a bunch of photos, was there anything of potential evidentiary value found upstairs?
No,
Any weapons?
no,
Any head?
no,
Any blood?
no.
Showing you 138, is this one of the upstairs living area bedrooms?
Yes,
And can you see some, what appears to be some little girls' clothes and little stuffies up here?
yes.
Well, that's what my kids call them, stuffies.
Yes.
140, some more kind of child's clothing or small clothing there.
Yes,
This is all upstairs.
yes.
145, this bathroom door appears to be painted pink.
Yes,
Did you find it? So very briefly, 153, we now have evidence placards next to the 2 chemical bottles,
yes,
and those should correspond with our crime scene diagram.
yes,
Evidence placard 1 states 155, the ammonia bottle.
yes.
Was that processed in any way at the scene?
Not at the scene, no.
For the record, 156, that's just showing the other side of the bottle to see how much is left in there.
Correct,
I'd say maybe 1/3 full.
correct.
And did I say, is that the ammonia bottle?
Yes,
Okay, and then 154, the other bottle appears to be soft scrub bleach.
yes.
When you say not processed at the scene, what do you mean?
So we collected it with the intent of bringing it back to the station to have our forensic evidence lab technician process it in the lab.
Going back to the backyard for a moment, the one gate is obstructed that swings inward to the backyard.
Correct.
The other side, I'd shown you a photo earlier from the front, that gate, that wooden fence,
Yes,
does that cause that side to be completely obstructed as well?
yes,
Okay, so both sides are obstructed.
yes.
States 160, where are we now?
So that's the foot of the bed where the victim was.
161, now we have an evidence placard showing what?
That's showing an area of apparent blood that was located on the foot of the bed.
Very small, almost like droplets.
Yes,
Did those appear to be downward droplets?
yes.
What's the difference between a downward and kind of a spray?
It's like a passive blood drop. So it doesn't show a lot of directionality. It's more just like a passive, like something that's dripping blood just passively. It doesn't show a lot of movement.
In addition, in the bedroom, did you and other crime scene analysts locate a bunch of writings, pink writing?
Yes.
Were those accessed and then ultimately photographed page by page?
Yes.
Did those shed light on your investigation?
Yes.
And generally, without saying what the letters say, why were they relevant to your investigation?
It appeared to be handwritten notes regarding a child custody disagreement.
Okay. I'd move for the omission of 196 to 207.
We'd object as a hearsay if you want us to approach with
Please.
And we're gonna make this two-way argument, and I don't know that that's gonna be done in the next 20 minutes. So we're gonna stop for the day, and then we'll do this, and then we'll pick back up tomorrow. Can you approach briefly? during this recess, you must not discuss or communicate with anyone, including fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. You must not read, watch, listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. You must not do any research, such as consulting dictionaries, using email, using reference materials. You must not make any investigation, test the theory of the case, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own. And you must not form or express any opinion regarding this case unless I submitted to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
All rise for the jury.
Please be seated. Ma'am, you are going to be excused for the remainder of the day. I just remind you that you are still under oath. You are not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone. You can report back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be adjourned for the rest of the day, so everybody can be excused. Yes. All right, everything remaining from this point will be done off the records. We're going to stop all.
Sign.